Hello to the diehards. Good afternoon, NFL and New York Jets fans. Day three. Not a lot of folks tune in for this one, do they? This is the bottom of the roster stuff that the diehards love it. And the folks who like the superstars and the starters and the big names, they tend to tune this one out. But we're here. We're going to be live for the duration. The Jets, look, the big story, of course, today, Shedeur Sanders. Who takes him? Should the Jets take him? I tweeted out a little while ago. I think the Shedeur thing. Hang on one second. Trying to get live on here. I think Shedeur to the Jets. If the Jets were to take him, and this is what I tweeted out. If the Jets were to take him, I get it. And if the Jets don't take him, I get it. There's pros, cons, ups, downs, whatever, however you want to term it. With Shedeur, you're getting obviously at this point incredible value at a critical position. So you bring him in, you work him, you try to develop him. If Justin Fields does well, now you have two quarterbacks, you can trade one. There we go. Hang on one second. So if you end up with Shedeur on your roster and he plays well, then you have two quarterbacks. If he doesn't play well, you only invested a fourth, fifth, whatever round pick, wherever you get him, and you can move on. He's a Woody Johnson loves the idea of a recognizable face, a recognizable figure. Think Tim Tebow, right? However, the cons are that I think the biggest one to me is that you're undermining the Justin Fields thing a little bit. I think you then put Fields in a situation where you've brought him in, you've told him he's gonna be your guy, he's your quarterback, this, that, and the other. And then you bring in a guy who's going to challenge him immediately. The second field struggles. There's going to be people calling for him to get benched. And now you've taken a kid that you've paid all this money to and told him, we believe in you and we're going to win. And listen, I understand it's NFL, it's a business, big boy stuff. You got to go out, you got to improve the roster no matter what. So I get that aspect of it, but having just sold Fields on that and sold the fan base on it, if you go out and get Shedeur, you might be getting a really good player, but you also might be undermining the Justin Fields situation. And then, of course, there's Prime, right? And, this was mentioned yesterday on an NFL Network. If you draft Shedeur, that Prime comes with that. It's a package deal. And if things aren't going well with Shedeur, which with the Jets, they probably won't. And that's not because of Shedeur, that's because of the Jets. Doesn't matter, GM, coach, coordinator, doesn't matter. They ruin quarterbacks. It's what they do. So the odds of them turning things around and getting it right with Shedeur, I would say, are not great. And if Shedeur struggles, then you're going to have Prime, you may have Prime, ripping a team in public, talking about what the team is doing wrong. And you can say, well, that's an assumption and we have no evidence of that. I mean, look, he's falling in the draft and he's tweeting out that, things have been taken from his son that he deserves. And look, I'm not in the war rooms. I mean, I've said he's great value at this point. But as Trey Wingo said yesterday in a tweet, like teams draft guys who they believe are going to help them win. And I said yesterday on our show and with Scott Mason after our show that there is an aspect of the baggage or the risk that Shedeur comes with of the high profile and the potential response from dad if things don't go well. That's something teams are going to be more willing to put up with or deal with or accept or whatever you want to call it. If you've got Caleb Williams, if you've got Jalen Daniels, if you've got Drake May. But as many have said, Shedeur would probably, I mean, look, Cam Ward was QB1 by a wide margin. And there were those who, in the days leading up to the draft, I heard them say that Cam Ward would have been QB6 in last year's class. So how far is Shedeur as a prospect from Caleb Williams, from Drake? And look, Caleb Williams didn't come with the baggage. But I mean, maybe baggage isn't even the right term. It's not baggage. Just a high profile, very high profile. I mean, literal Hall of Fame, all-time great NFL, all-time team, current head coach at a big program. You don't have that guy either in your coach's ear. Why is this happening with my son? And again, that is an assumption on my part. You could say it hasn't happened because it hasn't, and I get that. But would anyone be surprised if that were to happen? Would anyone be shocked if wherever Shedeur lands, if he doesn't play well? Because listen, before this all started, and I talked to people about this a few days ago, before Shedeur's even drafted, his father is on doing these appearances. I don't know what shows they were, podcast, TV, whatever. I don't. I just saw the clips online, but he's out there saying, I'm going to call teams and let teams know if it's okay for them to draft him or not." Really? I mean, okay. And as I said, Manning did it, right? Archie did it. But you're going to make phone and sitting down, and it's a weird thing because on the one hand, I understand that this is his son and he wants what's best for him, so he's going to look out for him. If you loved your son, you'd probably tell the Jets not to draft him too. So I'm not saying he's wrong to do that. I'm just saying from a team perspective, they're probably looking at it like, all right, well, if you think you're going to have say in what we as a team do with our personnel, and you're going to be saying it publicly on pods or TV or whatever, we're gonna step away. So maybe he may be off some teams' boards, and you can talk about how there are guys who, I believe Rich Eisen said yesterday, guys in this draft accused of things that are far worse than anything Shedeur has done, and I don't disagree with that. But as I say, when it comes contract time, when you're talking contracts, when you're talking trade compensation, when you're talking on-field, off-field conduct, I always say everything is different with the quarterbacks. Their pay is different, their exposure is different, their access is different. They're different. You don't say, "Oh, well, look at this quarterback, whatever," and this linebacker over here got what? Okay, that it's not the same thing when you're talking about exposure and prominence. So having a guy where there might be some meddling publicly from a family member, and you can disagree with me, that's fine. But I think we're all sitting here going, "Why is this happening?" Like what? Even with the bad interviews. I mean, how bad could they have been? Because that was the big story, right? Is that there were several reporters who reported from multiple sources, some saying it was the worst interview they'd ever seen, some saying that Shedeur was blowing interviews off, or they believed he was blowing them off because the conduct was so unbelievable. And as I said, I've said it a couple times. I mean, we do know that his father. I mean, it's a story we've all laughed at over the years. How funny is it that when Prime went to the combine, from Prime went to the combine, the Giants handed him their psych eval, and he said, "Where do you guys pick?" "Oh, I'll be gone by then," and walked away. Okay, fine, that's your right, and he was right. I might have done the same thing, but now you hear, however many years later, that his son is going into interviews, and people are saying that the interviews are terrible. He's blowing them off, and would that shock anyone? I mean, I don't know how something like that would surprise you. So I just think there's a lot at play. I think that if this were as I've said, I'm trying to think of a different name, but the top three from last year, Daniels, Williams, May, if this was one of those guys, there'd be a team going, you know what? This might be a pain in the backside, but it's worth it. Roll the dice. Let's go. And Shedeur, look, it's almost silly to sit here and talk about the holes in Shedeur's game, only because every quarterback has holes in their game. Every quarterback taken before him has holes in their game. So I get, and I've said it too, but it's, that's talking about the evaluation, what you like, what you don't, and the holding onto the ball too long. The arm strength has been questioned by a lot of folks. And like I said, I've listened to people who really like Shedeur and rave about him, who then say at the same time, he's probably not throwing at the combine because he's going to have the weakest arm out there. Like, it doesn't matter who he goes before or after. Everyone he throws around is going to have a better arm than him. And again, these are people saying, take him 3 overall, great pick, because of the football smarts, because of the football toughness, because of the accuracy. Like, there's plenty there to like. I mean, I did just say, if you take him, great, because he might become your starter, or he might become an asset that can get you a great pick down the line. Either way, it's a quality investment. And to the point that Scott Mason made last night, and I believe he tweeted it out again today, you have the option to just move on if things aren't going well, if you're not happy with how he's conducting himself. So it'll be interesting to see what happens today with Shedeur. I mean, you have people, Kuiper and the number of people that are like this is a disgrace. This is disgusting. I mean, that might be taking it a little far because we don't know. Only the people who were in that room with Shedeur know what in those rooms, I should say, in those interviews. And maybe there were interviews that he did well in. I'm sure he wasn't blowing off every single interview. I'm sure some of them went well. But maybe those teams didn't need a quarterback. That's the other part of it. Not every team is in the market for a quarterback. But the thing last night, and we talked about this post game or post draft on Scott's show, was that if you saw my reaction yesterday, and if you like, I don't go crazy with, I know it's like, oh, my team's picking, I have to jump up and down when they announce their pick. I don't have a lot of big reactions, maybe the occasional ooh or ah, but that Steelers passing on him was like, wow. That was a moment for me where I was like, this dude might go undrafted. This team, I've said it before, the Steelers are a storied franchise. They do not have losing seasons. They do not have a quarterback. And they passed on him at 83. That was shocking. We're off and running, folks. Tennessee Titans on the clock. Pick is in. Florida wide receiver Chimere Dike. This is a guy who I'd mentioned, tweeted out about him a couple years ago when he was at Wisconsin. Transferred to Florida. He's just a player. The speed is phenomenal. I thought he was going to blow up at the Senior Bowl. He didn't, which was kind of a disappointment. But every time I watch him on film, I just think make him a part of your offense, get him involved with good quarterback play, and I feel like DK can be a good player. That didn't happen in Florida the way I thought it would, and sometimes that's just the way it goes. We'll see. We'll go to the highlights here, see what we have on him. I know I've got a few clips because let's see, really liked him. Oh, I think this is. Let me see. See which clip this. I wish they would. We can get these clips up. There we go. So there he is, top of your screen, overthrow, nice lunging, diving catch. Ball almost pops out. He secures it, hangs on. Good player. And again, this is earlier for me than I thought. I thought late day 3. Here he is, the first pick of day 3. He was, again, one of my guys going down to Mobile. I really thought he was going to have himself a really strong outing. And he really, I mean, I wasn't there this year. What I saw on film, I was able to get the practice film after. It didn't blow me away. I didn't hear a lot of people who were down there talking about him. Saw his name once or twice, but not the way I expected to. I thought he was going to be like a, wow, this kid is really setting the combine or the Senior Bowl on fire. Didn't go down that way. Let me just pull up the draft tracker. There we go. See who we got. Jacksonville is, their pick is in. Giants picking after that. Only a few picks away from the 4th pick for the Jets of this class, of this round rather. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, of the class. Jets are picking 8th in this round, and I believe they've got a 2nd pick in this. Do they not? Or is that next round? All right. Jacksonville pick is in. Let's see. And where is... Let's go to best available again. Shedeur will be obviously at the top of that until he goes. Billy Bowman. Billy Bowman has been at the top of that best available, excuse me, the top of that best available list for a very long time. And as I said, I understand. I get the arm length is a little bit of a concern. Let's turn this in here. The arm length is a little bit of a concern. The tackling is a little bit of a concern. Welcome this thing back. Haven't used the arm in forever. It's way easier. Way easier. And the Jags pick is being announced. Who do we got? Bajol Tootin. So fastest back in the class. Obviously, dynamic runner, but some fumble issues at Virginia Tech, especially when you look at the fact he didn't have a ton of carries, but he is he's a guy that is going to, he's got the opportunity to bring an offense to life anytime you draft a guy with that type of speed. That was why I was so high a couple years ago on Izzy Abanikanda, who obviously didn't work out with the Jets, but Tootin, much lower compact, a lot more power, a lot more thump than Izzy Abanikanda had. So don't know that he has as much wiggle, but obviously he's got a bit more speed, which is saying something because Izzy could absolutely fly. Looking to see, okay, I was hoping they'd pull up his fumble numbers. I'm going to pull those up real quick. There we go. 10 plus rushing touchdowns in each of the last 3 seasons. That just popped up from NFL Network. Obviously, you love to see that. And let's see, he averaged 6.3 a carry this past season, which is insane. He averaged 5 the year before that. Trying to find the fumbles, and if I got it wrong with him, I apologize. I was clearly thinking of somebody else. If I'm wrong, fumbles. This says fumbles, but then it has recoveries. It doesn't show an actual number of fumbles. Maybe I'm wrong on him. Maybe I'm confusing him with someone else. If so, my mistake. My apologies, Mr. Tootin. Yeah, I don't see that number. I had him. I'm thinking of somebody else then. So my mistake. There are not fumble issues or concerns with Bajol Tootin. Trying to find. Yeah, didn't he just over 2,000 yards in 2 college seasons at Virginia Tech. Caught the ball 50 passes, 50 catches for 320 yards. The Giants pick is in, and as we say, the picks will be fast and furious today. So we will summarize players we're familiar with. There's bound to be day 3. There's going to be a handful of guys who went to a super small school who weren't highlighted, who we didn't highlight, who we didn't see. There's not a lot, but generally speaking, there'll be a couple of guys out of the 257 picks. There may be a few that we can't really speak on very much. Let's see, round 4, pick 105 for the Giants. It is in, and that puts the Pats, New England Patriots on the clock. Jets 8th. 1 second. Let's see. Yeah. We're having trouble streaming to X. Okay, so if you're watching on Twitter or on X, there may be a problem. I don't know what that problem is. I've just been told by StreamYard. So you can hop over to YouTube, hop over to Facebook. Ooh, that's going to be popular with Giants fans. It really should be popular with any fan base. Cam Scattaboo, the human pinball. Dude, just contact balance for days. Not a great 40, but nobody expected that. He'll be popular. That'll be one that fans will, like I said, people that just fight for yards and just have that ability to bounce off guys over and over and pick up yards. Fans love those players. So Scattaboo to the Giants. If you watched him in the college football playoff, he was absolutely phenomenal. And that brings up the Pats. We got to have, you know what? Scattaboo might be a guy that I don't even have many highlights of because it was like everybody has seen this guy. Nobody, let's see. Uh, yeah, I have nothing. How crazy is that? One of the one of the better backs in this class who we've all watched, we've all seen, we're all familiar. I think I just saw so much of him that I thought, I don't even have to pull highlights of this guy. Everybody has seen him. And if you haven't, watch him, or you will see him, especially those of you who who may be in or from the New York area who get flooded with Jets and Giants highlights. With him going to the Giants, you will see some Cam Scatabo. Is it Scatabo? Might be Scatabo, but either way, Scatabo. He's gonna be a very popular player. Not a bad. I mean, look, the Giants on paper, really good class, really good draft class. Patriots pick is in, and we are what 4 picks away from the Jets. Once this one's announced, and I want to take a look and see who. Let's see. Pats, it's in. Um, with the Jags on the clock, so we are moving right along, which is great. Let's see. Trying to remember what the Pats have done so far, and I don't know why it does this, but oh, there we go. That's perfect. New England. All right. So far, New England, Will Campbell, Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams, Jared Wilson, and whatever they go right now. Do you go D end if you're the Patriots? Or just D line? Or again, we've said a million times, right? Very deep tight end class. Maybe you go tight end if you're them, if you're the Pats right now. Let's see who some of the better tight ends are. No, they didn't take one, right? No. I know that do they have Mitchell Evans? Is this alphabetical? Because this can't be in order of rank. No way. This is something. Maybe NFL. I don't know. Mitchell Evans to me is not above Gunnar Helm. Is not above Jake Briningstool. Is not above Oronde Gadsden. Is not above Jalen Conyers. These are some guys like Jalen Conyers. He's probably the next guy I'm thinking of in terms of when you look at. We've talked about some players who go way earlier than you expect, and there's a few guys I've mentioned that I'm like, wow, I really like that guy, but I thought he was day 3. Jalen Conyers, probably looking at the current list, he's probably one, or in terms of tight ends, my favorite day 3 guy. So obviously he will be day 3. We're in day 3, but will he be a late or an early? Let's see. Jordan Kelly says, who did the Jets get in the second round? That would have been yesterday's pick, Mason Taylor. 42nd overall, the tight end out of LSU, son of Jason Taylor. And look, he looked happy to be here. Everyone loved seeing the pictures of him as a kid walking around New York with Dad when Dad was a Jet, and he wasn't a filthy Dolphin. Oh, there's a good pick for New England. Craig Woodson, the safety from Cal. Now safety becomes interesting for the Jets now because everyone, we all assumed safety was a foregone conclusion, but with the pick yesterday, and when you've got Stevens at corner and you just drafted Thomas, like that's 3 big corners with when you add Sauce in the mix. So it's like, is this going to be a thing where one of those guys, they battle it out in camp and one of them doesn't play? Or is one of them moving to corner or to safety rather? And that was something I'd forgotten he did play. I said yesterday Stevens didn't have safety experience, but he did his rookie year. He played there for Baltimore. So that's one thing that's going to linger until camp, until we find out where guys are. Because look, teams don't tell the truth about this stuff. They don't tell you what their plans are, who's going to be where. Especially, I would imagine Aaron Glenn is going to be a guy who doesn't really divulge a whole lot when speaking to the media. And so if people ask him what the plan is for the corners, so you're not going to get much. If there's a plan to move someone to safety, I'd be surprised if that's leaked now. In the grand scheme of things, not really going to matter, but that's just how some teams operate. And what do we got? This looks like England. Oh, it must be. Yeah, it's got to be England because that's a Jaguars pick. And They're England's team. There you go. London, UK. Jag tag. That's pretty interesting. So let's see what Jacksonville does here. Pick 107. Jack Kaiser, linebacker from Notre Dame. He's a guy that I wondered if he could be on the Jets' radar because the the depth at linebacker, Surratt's not coming back, or it doesn't appear Surratt's coming back. Unfortunately, he may land in San Francisco with Robert Saleh, but the Jets don't have a lot of depth, a lot of proven depth. So I wondered if they might get a guy, and with Kaiser being here day 3, only thing is he's a little smaller, and we gotta wait. We gotta see what type of scheme the Jets run, right? Because as it stands right now, Aaron Glenn, while he was in Detroit, had bigger backers, bigger edge rushers, and that's not the case here. And they didn't really make an effort in free agency to go get guys that would fit that role. We're not seeing it so far in the draft, but we got some picks left. We'll see what happens. We'll see if they draft some bigger backers or bigger ends. But I'll tell you what, with this pick coming up, I don't know about you guys, but I'm hoping DT or wide receiver, but I'm not after not taking a receiver yesterday, starting to wonder, and this is another conversation I had with Scott Mason, is does this team plan on taking a receiver? You would imagine for certain they will, but not only did they add a receiver in free agency, well, they added two, but really you've sorry, just one second. Okay, yeah. Obviously, you added Tyler Johnson, who everybody knows about, but then you've got Josh Reynolds, who is a guy who knows them, who knows their system, and do they look at him as a number 2 type receiver? He's had 1 or 2 seasons where he's put up number 2 receiver type numbers, and this is going to be a physical football team. The priority might not be on a receiver. I'm not saying it's not, or it won't, or they shouldn't. I felt like they would have gotten one with one of their top 3 picks. Um, they didn't, obviously. And who's on the clock right now? Looks like the Raiders pick is in. Raiders pick is in. Bears are on the clock. Jets on deck. What's it going to be? Let's see. See that, and the whole thing is with the best available. That's all subjective. I was looking at different sites last night, and guys who were 1, 2, 3 on one site might have been 15, 18, and 25 on another. So just as you see with NFL war rooms, you hear it all the time. Prospects are scattered all over the place. That team's 85th player is another team's 134th player. Just kind of the way it goes, how you prioritize, what you hold against a player, what you want in a player. So it's not as if there's a universal formula. Dante Thornton. Now that there you go. There's Al Davis. Giving the thumbs up from upstairs, going and getting the biggest, fastest dude in the class. 6'4", ran in the 4.4s. Absolutely blaze. I think, in fact, he is. I believe him and Megatron and one other player. I forget who. Was it MVS? I forget. Only 3 players in the history of the combine have checked in at over 6'4" and run a 40 in that range, and Dante Thornton is one of them. So I know some people had said they would like him to be a Jets day 3 pick. Obviously, that is not going to happen. Bears are on the clock. Jets are on deck. Can we get a trade? I know I keep saying it, but they need more picks. They need more players. But if teams don't feel the need, it's not happening. So again, Bears on the clock, Jets on deck. And Buffalo just traded up in front of the Jets. Again, for a second time. It is now the Bills at 109. Let's see. Of the guys remaining, It doesn't matter who the Bills pick here. The story will be the Bills took the guys the Jets wanted. Oh, the Jets had this guy on their board, and he was there. They couldn't wait to take him, and the Jets got hoodwinked and bamboozled again. But that's funny. That's twice Buffalo's jumped up in front of the Jets. Once for TJ Sanders. And look, sometimes these teams do get intel, and they do find out what other teams are looking at, whether you like it or not. Sometimes other teams know what you're thinking. So who's to say? That's twice. I'll tell you what. If the Jets did have their eye on Sanders and Buffalo gets another guy here they like, they got a problem in that building. Jumped twice by the same team, division rival. Very, very interesting. That pick is in for Buffalo. So what are we thinking here, Jets? What are we thinking, Jets fans? I know some folks like Jalen Royals. That'd be nice. Joshua Farmer, I would love. Marcus Bowe, lineman, he's unlikely. Danny Stutzman, more of I think he's gonna be a really good player, but run stopper type. JJ Pagee, I would really like. Nick Nash, the receiver, a little bit older, but I love this. I love this film. Lathan Ransom, safety. Again, we have no idea what the Jets' plan is at safety, so they may or may not need another one. The Bills' pick is in. These are grown-ups wearing these hats, by the way. These are adults. Oh. I was just saying Farmer, and if you look at my just about 20 minutes ago, I was tweeting back and forth with our good friend Dom C and Antoine Staley of the Daily News, saying if his medicals are clean, I'm taking Deion Walker. I'll tell you what, if the Jets did want Deion Walker and Buffalo just jumped him to take him, well, I'll tell you what, that's twice now Buffalo has jumped the Jets and taken a defensive tackle both times. They are beefing up that interior. Deion Walker, folks, Deion Walker is a top 15 talent. Easily talented enough to be a first-round pick, but his tape this year at Kentucky was terrible. Jets are on the clock. Let's get a trade, please. Let's move here. So, I love Deion Walker. Well, again, Deion Walker, Ted McMillan, my two favorite players coming into this year, and now a division rival grabs him. Damn it. They're stupid hats. Let's show you some Deion Walker. I don't want to show you Deion Walker. I'm too mad now. All right. Whatever. It is what it is. If that's who the Jets wanted, they got jumped. Didn't get their guy. I mean, you have to think Buffalo believed the Jets were looking in that direction. And the Jets pick is in. No trade. No, everybody trade this year except the Jets. We got 50,000 trades. No trades for the Jets. You got people jumping over the Jets, but no deals for them. No trades for you. Oh, that one stings. How crazy is that? My two favorite players in the class, Ted McMillan, goes after the Jets pick in the first round. And now my favorite defensive player, someone jumps up to take him in front of the Jets here in the fourth round. Thank you. Not great. Not great. Let's see who the Jets are going with here. Man. If Deion Walker goes on to have a great career, So Jets pick should be in soon, or should be announced shortly. Hmm. Let's see. Oh. Well, the pick is in. Well, it's not in. It's in, but not announced. Wow. I just caught a glimpse on Twitter by accident, but I will hold back. Oh, man. Hmm. And it's Arian Smith, wide receiver out of the University of Georgia. It's Arian Smith. He ran a 4.36 per Daniel Jeremiah. The thing that the Jets had him in for a visit. The thing I did not like was that he had 10 drops last year, 13 for his career. Wow. 10 drops last year. Okay. And they're about to touch on that now on NFL Network. I just heard them say he needs to make friends with the Jugs machine. Whew, Alan Lazard and Arian Smith. Wow. That's wow. Arian Smith. Again, blazing speed, jackrabbit, like out of the blocks, boom, he's gonna get by you. We'll see if we have anything on him. I'm just really surprised. Yeah, now I know I recorded clips of him. I've actually put clips of him on JetNation. So perhaps in another folder because hey, wait, let's do this. This might do it. No. Okay. Well, those got lost somewhere because as I said, I know I shared some of his clips on JetNation to highlight his ability to get out of the blocks. And the Eagles get Ty Robinson. All right. That's this is a surprising development. I was surprised they had him in because you think about Aaron Glenn, you think disciplinarian, fundamental. You think about how, his mentor, Bill Parcells. Parcells hated, playing rookies because of the rookie mistakes. So when they had him in, I thought, okay, great. I know he's a Blazer. Looked a little deeper, watched some more film, looked up his numbers, and I was like, oh, this dude had 10 drops last year. Like, there's no way that Aaron Glenn is taking a guy who had 10 drops. I stand corrected. I stand corrected. Mm. But again, he'll run past you, and he'll catch most of them. Sometimes we talk about drops like dudes are dropping 30% of the passes that come their way. That's just silly. Obviously not the case, but you've added a guy, major program. Aaron Glenn has talked in the past about how he wants guys who are used to winning, guys who wake up in the morning just expecting to win, not hoping to win, expecting it, knowing what it takes to prepare to be a winner. So he's covered that aspect of it. They do want a guy who can stretch the field a little bit more. And look, Garrett Wilson's got blazing speed too. But maybe you use Garrett Wilson underneath a little more than you have been in the past, and you add a guy like this who can stretch the field. If he's and we don't know exactly. We don't even have an estimate. We've never seen Engstrand run his own offense. He ran one 100 years ago in San Diego State, but he's not done it in the NFL. So look, if they plan on being an offense, see, I can't be them. I can't see them being an offense that runs a ton of multiple receiver stuff because you just get the feeling they're going to be a ground and pound team. But we'll see what role they have for him, if any at all. I want to check real quick and see if he does any return work. I can't remember. I think he did, but I'm not 100% sure. So Arian Smith, I mean, the yards per catch is ridiculous. 17 yards per catch. Now, prior to that, he never had double-digit catches in a season. That I didn't realize. I knew he was used sparingly, but his catches by year from 2020, 2, 3, 7, 8, and then this past season, 48 for 817, which is an insane number. To go with 4 touchdowns. And I don't see any return numbers on him. So the drops are the concern, as they are with Allen Lazard. So the Jets have a couple of guys now who don't have the most. You're not going to have the greatest feeling when the ball is heading their way. But again, a guy like this, if he makes the play, obviously that's huge. Given the speed, he did run in the 4.3s. He might be one of the guys who said he was going to run like a 4. Was he the guy that said he was going to break Worthy's record? I can't remember. Cannot remember if that was him. But trying to look up. Yeah, wasn't really used as a gadget guy. 5 carries for 54 this year. Probably end the rounds given his speed. And let's check the fumbles. Any fumbles for him? No. It would appear no. So that's good. That's good. Let's see. Oh, New Orleans grabs Danny Stutzman, who we've talked about a little bit over the last couple of days, the Oklahoma linebacker. Those are 2 guys back to back. Ty Robinson that goes to the Eagles, Danny Stutzman that goes to the Saints. Those guys are going to be absolute force against the run for both those teams. And Robinson, again, was one of those reasons that you look at this class and say, oh, there's a lot of DTs here. And he is one of them, the kid out of Nebraska. Really, really strong guy at the point. Doesn't bring a ton as a pass rusher, but I like them. And I said this many times. I said I actually did an article at one point highlighting the DTs in this class. I forget how many I did, but at some point I just said, I got to stop writing. I'm not really in the mood to write an article profiling 30 players because there were 20 plus DTs. Talked about it weeks ago. Daniel Jeremiah said he had starting grades on 24 of these guys. Last year, that number was 12. So literally double the starting defensive tackle, starting DT grades from this year compared to last. So let's see if he's former Jet D lineman Leger Douzable Don't love the Arian Smith pick. He has drop issues. That he does. That he does. He's a legit deep threat and a legit drop threat. Let's see. Okay. John Gruden, his sleeper pick. This from our friend Scott Mason. Play Like a Jet just tweeted out a clip of Gruden saying that Arian Smith is his sleeper in this year's class. And look, like I said, man, off the line, he's a jackrabbit. He is going to get open down the field. It's a matter of can he consistently catch the football. Another good DT. I think maybe the DTs are going to dry up now. CJ West. That's man, 3 really good players. Deion Walker, Ty Robinson, CJ West, all gone. Maybe JJ Pagee goes next of the defensive tackles, but I feel like the Jets now they'll miss out now. If we have a run on DTs, let's see who's left among the defensive tackles. See how we feel about this. And I can't remember when they pick next. Let's see. So defensive tackles, undrafted as of right now. Joshua Farmer, good one. Cam Jackson, JJ Pagee. But those guys will be gone by the next time the Jets pick. After that, Aeneas Peebles I really like as a pass rusher type, but that's not really what the Jets need. They need someone who can help stuff the run. Unless they're really in love with the bottom of the roster guys they signed in free agency. Riley Mills a lot. Nazir Stackhouse, okay, he's a good one if you're looking for a run stopper. Cam Horsley out of Boston College, Tonka Hemingway. So there are still some guys out here who I like, but the upper tier, upper echelon guys are going. Joshua Farmer I would include in that. Pagee I would include in that. I feel like there's a drop off from there. Again, depending on what you're looking for. Stackhouse, I think, for whatever reason, I think because he wasn't, all world, he kind of fell by the wayside being a Georgia kid because we're so used to them producing some of the best DTs in the NFL. If he's not going to be one of the best DTs, that doesn't mean he's not going to be a very good DT. And again, if you're talking about run stoppers. Rich says such a deep DT class, not drafting one. I know they should have. I thought they would have had one by now and maybe one later on. Rich, that's yeah, that's wild. Justin Jett says Sanders still falling this far is bizarre to me. Listen, I said it earlier when the Steelers didn't take him at 83, I was like, this guy might not get picked. That was easily the best situation for him. Going to a winner, going to a place where he'd be able to play, going to a place with a head coach who does not lose, going to a place with a head coach who knows how to manage personalities. I thought Pittsburgh was absolutely the dream scenario for him. And the pre-draft rumor was they didn't like him enough to take him at 21. Well, that's fine. But if you didn't like him enough to take him at 83, that's shocking. So I don't know. And I saw Emery Hunt said he could, Emery feels like this is the league sending a message to the Sanders family that we don't like that you're trying to control what happens here. That might be playing a role. But I stand by if a team believed he was their guy and the league, what is the league telling them to teach him a lesson? I think they'd be like, we're trying to win football games. I don't, we even at the end of the day, players can demand this, that, and the other, but a team doesn't have to do it. But again, I understand that can get messy, and that's kind of a different conversation. But so Rep in the Bronx says can teach catching, can teach speed. Well, someone tell that to Alan Lazard, and we can get that cleaned up. You're not wrong. That's something you can improve, but he does have speed, which can't be taught. I would have liked a guy who already knows how to do both, but he can take the top off of defense without a doubt. Tony, the GM, says Sanders is a horrible QB. Listen, everyone's gonna. everyone's got their opinions on how good he is or how good he can be. Trevor Etienne just went to the Carolina Panthers. Um, let's see, brother of Trevor Etienne. There you go. Good player out of Georgia. Travis Etienne. Did I say Trevor twice? Yeah. No. Okay. So yeah, the DT thing with the Jets. I mean, Tim Smith out of Alabama. I think he's another good one. 51, I believe, number 51. He's another good option. But I was hoping. Well, who's there's a kid out of UCLA whose name escapes me at the moment, who is not on this list, as well as Junior Tafuna. I believe he's a run plugger type. So see, he's 308. I mean, if you can play, you can play. But in my mind, I was envisioning the Jets grabbing a 325 plus pound DT like Deion Walker, like Jamari Caldwell. Obviously didn't happen. But yeah, to Tony's point, saying Sanders is horrible. I mean, listen, you may or may not like a guy, but you're not. I don't care what college program you're at. You're not completing 70% of your passes if you're horrible. There might be holes in his game. There certainly are. Um, but he's certainly worthy of having been picked by this point, and he hasn't been. But I don't think it's about the league. I mean, the league doesn't control players. I'm sure they would like to, but in recent years, they sign guys. How many players have we now seen that walk away with free money from a team? Tens of millions of dollars. Here's a $50 million signing bonus. I want out. I'm going to complain. I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to work hard. Trade me. All right, we'll eat this 30, 40, $50 million bonus, and there you go. That sound like control to you? Imagine saying that dude controlled me. Wow, how? Oh, he gave me $50 million to not work for him. Could only hope, right? Working people. So yeah, I don't know that it's a control thing. Only because again, as Jets fan, look at Jamal Adams. Did the Jets control Jamal Adams? They had to trade him. All he has to do is go to the media, raise a stink, say you don't like the coaches, nobody's good at their job, and then you got to deal him. Now, lucky for the Jets, they hadn't given him a huge contract before that. But we see players control their destiny all the time in the NFL. Now, not every player, not everybody has leverage, and not everyone's good enough to be able to make these demands. For the first three picks is good. This pick not good. Yeah, look, it's to each his own. My info. Getting a corner, like I said, it's almost the corner pick isn't. It's almost not worth talking about. Like, okay, I think the guy can play corner, great. And I do think he can play corner. But what does that mean? Having three corners is someone moving to safety. So now are we talking about a safety? And then it's a different conversation. So we'll see what happens there. But look, there are still some good DTs. But to me, I would say the last two guys who I really liked, Joshua Farmer, JJ Pagee, again, in terms of big bodied run stopper types, are still on the board. Aeneas Peebles still on the board. Nazir Stackhouse still on the board. Again, Tonka Hemingway, I like. That's for me. Those are kind of my top guys remaining at DT, and we'll see if another pick has come in while I've been rambling because they do come in fast. Cody Simon to the Arizona Cardinals. I thought he might be a Jet. Said that many times because Rick Spielman absolutely loved the kid. Spielman talked on his podcast about how he was so impressed with him that he told him if football didn't work out, he'd like to hire him, like to give him a job working for him. Spielman, I'm assuming, was thinking he'd be back in the front office at some point, which he was apparently right. But yeah, he told Cody Simon, I want you to come work for me. So, but that was 2 years ago when he thought Simon had UDFA special teamer type film and he'd be out of the league in a couple years. Spielman then said this year, this guy's upped his game a ton. He's now a viable pick. He'll be a mid-round guy, third, fourth rounder, and he'll be a player in the league for a while. So good for him. You love hearing stories like that. Guys improving their game, putting in the work, getting that much better. And then all of a sudden they're significantly raising their stock. So that's what Spielman did. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I really thought Smith was a special teamer, but I don't see any stats under his special teams. Let's see what I want to see if or sorry, with Arian Smith, I want to see if his NFL.com profile mentions the drops. But he ran a 4.36. I think I said 4.39. He ran a 4.36, which again is absolutely insane, and you love to see it. Let's see. And this is from Lance's Erline. Um, yeah, and this is what I said, right? When I say Jackrabbit, he's going to beat you real quick. And they say here, if a cornerback tries to press and misses, better have safety help. He averaged 36.5 yards on his 10 career touchdown receptions, which is insane. Lacks play strength to finish catches when contested. Hands are unreliable. So tantalizing option late in the draft. Ball skills are unlikely to improve enough for him to become a long-term option. Again, world-class speed, no doubt about it. But I don't see anything in here either. They had him. Actually, let's pull this up. They had him rated as a round 7 priority free agent for his draft projection. And yeah, as I just read, not a long-term guy. Look, we talk about this stuff because it's fun. Truth of the matter is none of us know. Nobody knows. But look, it's a hobby and we enjoy it. I get mad when people get mad about people talking about football. You don't know what's going to happen. Okay. So let's never have a conversation about football. Let's only ever talk about individual games when they're over and there's no speculation, no guessing, no fun. Let's take all the fun out of being a fan. When are they going to cut Michael Clemens? I mean, I don't think there's a rush to do it. I don't. Maybe they're thinking, and I'm not agreeing with this. Maybe they're thinking they can get a 7 for him. I don't see it. I don't think they would. So with a 90-man roster at the moment, no rush. But it is weird that he's still around. Um, unless they think they can make something out of him. I mean, stop letting him play the edge where he's always biting on the fakes and crashing down inside and leaving the side of the field open. Do they think they can bulk him up and put him at DT? I know the Jets tried that a couple years ago, but do they feel like that's something they want to stick with and let him do? He does have a good wingspan. He does have a good motor. We see too many mistakes. I'm not defending him or saying keep him. I'm just thinking from the Jets' perspective. I'm thinking what the answer to your question is. Why haven't they cut him? Maybe they think they can use him in some way. I don't know. Who do we got here? Another pick is in. There we go. Couple more picks come in. So after Cody Simon, we see Woody Marks from Houston and Jarquez Hunter from the Rams. Jarquez Hunter, fast guy. Watching him last year, I thought he was going to be the fastest 40 at Indy. That's how fast he plays. To me, I thought he was going to be one of the top guys, and that didn't happen. But I mean, he still ran in the 4.4, low 4.4s, I believe. I know we got some Jarquez Hunter. He's a guy I really liked. I got a ton of his. Um, let's see. Oh, that was the wrong button. Let's rewind this play. All right. Nothing there. Bounces it outside. Gets off one tackler, gets off another tackler, picks up a few extra yards. Not necessarily a power back, but there is some contact balance there. See what else we got. Like I said, I know I've got a bunch of Jarquez Hunter. And let's see. Got this one as Jarquez Hunter hurdles defender. Let's take a look here against Mizzou. Again, good agility, good lateral movement. And there you go. A little bit of the vert. I'm surprised. I mean, I must have on here somewhere a big long run because with his speed, he had plenty of them. Let's see if we can find a big run from Dark West Hunter here. The Falcons pick is in. Let's see if this one. I feel like with all the millions of video clips I have, I feel like I've lost some because I know I had some big runs from Dark West Hunter, and these aren't not these are bad plays. Again, he shows, you see the agility, the lateral movement, but I was looking for something where he can really show off the speed. But there you go. I mean, good player. Good player, Dark West Hunter. And there goes Billy Bowman. Finally. Sitting atop the best available for a couple of days now. It's nice to see Billy Bowman go. He goes to the Falcons loading up on defense. As I said yesterday, they loaded on offense. It was time to go get some defense. In the chat, KD messaging from overseas. Been listening to you in JetNation since 2016 when I enlisted. Excited to be home when preseason hits. Thanks for all you do, Glenn. You're one of my. Well, thank you, KD. I'm overseas too. So if you're overseas or I'm overseas, are we really overseas? I'm in the UK, retired over here after getting out of the military, doing my 20. So glad you're here. Glad you chimed in. I'm glad you're home. Always exciting to get home and catch some Jets games. That's the only reason I was only, season ticket holder for a year and a half, because I was always not living in New York. Got out of high school, joined the military, and then was rarely in the New York, New Jersey area. Still watched every damn game. Miserable as it made me. Let's see. Billy Bowman. Let's see if we got some Billy Bowman here. And you for yours, KD? What country you in, KD? Without too much OPSEC compromise here. Where are you at? And now I have my dog about to start barking at me. I can tell she's getting anxious because she's not getting attention. Let's see what we have on Billy Bowman. I think this clip is from 2 years ago. I don't think this is a recent one. There he is. Sees the pass, breaks on it, jumps in front of the defender, jumps the route, gets himself an interception. Like I said, I think this is the clip from 2 years, one of his plays from 2 years ago when he had like 7 interceptions. I mentioned the arm length being a concern. I mentioned the missed tackles being a concern. There were some issues, but again, a ball hawk. And listen, that's one thing. The glaring thing to me about the Jets secondary right now is they don't have guys who intercept the football. I mean, Cisco did in college, and he had a few picks. I think 2 years ago we had 3 picks, so maybe he'll develop into that guy. But the corners just don't intercept footballs. No worries, Middle East. Yep, been there. I actually, funny story. I was overseas. I was in the Middle East, and there was a USO. This is before I was writing for JetNation. I was a member with JetNation, but I wasn't writing for them. And they tell us one day they announced that some NFL coaches are coming out to visit on a USO tour. So I go out there. Yeah, Watts was picked yesterday, I believe. Xavier Watts went. But it was John Gruden, Jeff Fisher, Tom Coughlin, Bill Cowher, Jim Harbaugh, or John Harbaugh. No, Jim. John. And I think that may have been it. And it was just funny. I was actually telling someone this recently. The coaches are dead tired, as you can understand. They fly them over from the U.S. to the Middle East, and they're hopping from base to base to visit as many troops as possible. And I just try to think of a Jets-related question for every coach, because I don't care about other. Like I asked Gruden about Keyshawn. I asked Harbaugh about Rex, because Rex was his special teams coordinator, and Rex had just been hired as the Jets coach. But when I get to Coughlin, they had a running back who was playing decent for them, who had been a UDFA with the Jets, Ward, I forget. And anyway, I'm talking to Coughlin, and he's got Barrett Carter to the Bengals, great pick, great value. I've talked about Barrett Carter. He's a guy that going into this season, or if you looked at some of the people talking about him after the draft last year. Barrett Carter was being talked about as a potential linebacker one in this year's class. Obviously, he didn't fulfill that promise, but still a very good player, sideline to sideline, major program, of course, at Clemson. And since he needs defense, so that's a good pick for them. And there goes Gunnar Helm. Listen, there are still tight ends. There are still tight ends the Jets can get. Gunnar Helm, I would have liked. But there's same with the DTs, not as many, but a lot that I would like. Anyway, when I was talking to Tom Coughlin, he's just on autopilot. They're probably so used to meeting with people and signing stuff. I'm talking to him, and he just pulls my work hat, like my boonie cap that I got to wear to work. He's talking. He just pulls it out of my hand and starts signing it. And signs Tom. And I don't know where the damn thing is. I was telling someone that story the other day, and they're like, "Oh, I know you still got that hat." And I was like, "You know what? I don't think I do. I haven't seen it in years." But Coughlin just pulls I wasn't handing him my hat. I was just holding it in my hands. "Hey, coach, how you doing? How you doing?" And he just pulls it out of my hand and signs it. And I'm like, "That's my work hat. I got to wear that to my job." And now it says Tom Coughlin on it. But no, he was great. It was so great. It was really cool, those guys to come out there. Tampa Bay on the clock. Tampa Bay. Let's see. 19th pick of the 4th round. All right. Yeah, Bowman they could have used. But again, I feel like it's, and I said this before, sorry for being repetitive, but it almost feels useless talking about corners and safeties right now, because I'm not, and again, you look at Jarek Bernard Converse, who a lot of us feel like, I mean, he improved dramatically last year. You took Stiggers last year. So what's David Walker. Central Arkansas edge rusher, another guy who Rick Spielman absolutely loved and talked about him as a potential small school day 3 steal. You would have heard, he's another guy. Myself and Scott discussed at length. His name came up yesterday actually as a day 3 possibility. The one red flag, not red flag, but the one thing that could have turned the Jets off being his age at 24 years old. How old is Arian Smith? Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Taking a quick look here. Let's see. Okay. Carolina's on the clock right now. I mean, yeah, someone just tweeting out, Arian Smith, a lot of drops, but he's always open. And yet when he gets open, that dude is open. Like, you're not. Oh, there you go. John Gruden giving him the let's go Arian. And there goes Lathan Ransom to the Carolina Panthers. Again, Ohio State. So another guy who, with that needed safety for the Jets, thought he might be a target. And let's see. Yeah, this is Rich Cimini just tweeted it out. We're all aware. The Jets depth chart at wide receiver. Not a priority this offseason. Clearly. Not something the Jets were planning on doing much to address. And I liked Tyler Johnson coming out of college. And he had a solid rookie year. Not great, but solid. Showed some promise. Alan Lazard would be a nice 4th or 5th receiver. I don't know about he's not a very good wide receiver too. Corley is an X factor though, isn't he? I know a lot of people are down on him. I liked him. I thought the Jets would have found some way to get him involved, which of course he didn't help himself any with that boneheaded fumble. The voluntary fumble, not just a fumble, but a voluntary fumble. That's never going to do a whole lot to ingratiate you to your teammates and coaches. KD says, "What do I think of Smith? Do I think it's worth going wide receiver again in this draft?" Yeah, because Smith is a guy. I talked about this, and I said this on the forums in JetNation when the Jets had a 30 visit with him, because I think he was their first 30 visit, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about it. Maybe the first one I recall. But the dude, he's absolutely a jackrabbit. He is going to, on the snap, he's going to blow past you and get open. But he had 10 drops this year. You know, we kill Alan Lazard when he has 4 or 5 in a full NFL season. This kid had 10 in a shorter season against inferior defenders. So that's a little bit concerning. And taking him that early was a little bit of a surprise. As I said, NFL.com had him listed as a round 7 UDFA type guy. Let's see. But like I said, 4.36 at the combine. You don't mind that one bit. Let's see. Steelers are on the clock. Could this be Shedeur? No, it is not Shedeur. Wow. Jack Sawyer, Ohio State. He's a guy I've talked about how I feel like for the last 2 years, he's been all over draft maps. I've seen people refer to him as a top rusher. I've seen people say he's a round 7 guy. I think the only spot I haven't seen somebody say he would be is UDFA. But I've seen him top 50. And I've seen him day 3, late day 3. And instead it's early day 3 for Jack Sawyer, the edge rusher out of Ohio State. Let's see. There we go. Let's see here. Jack Sawyer. Now you got the Packers. Packers pick. Their pick is in. Like I said, I love this. Moving right along. So yeah, KD. That's Arian Smith. Love the speed. I mean, you have to love the speed. That's what got him drafted. That's why he averaged 17 a catch in college. But the drops are concerning. And between it's wild to think him and Lazard. I mean, you kind of figured Lazard would be gone, but they knocked his salary down to 3.5 million, which is more than manageable. I think the best case scenario with Alan Lazard is he plays well enough to get you a draft pick and trade in season to a team that's contending and needs a receiver. And I think we might see that too with, I think Brees and Lazard are 2 guys who, if they're playing really well mid-season and the Jets are out of it, you make a deal and try to get a pick for them. Lazard, you're not going to get anything in a comp really, so probably give him away. Brees, on the other hand, if he's playing well, then you stand to gain a comp if you're going to let him walk. If you're going to let him walk. My hope was always that Brees Hall would have a breakout year this year and play well enough to earn another contract with the Jets because I really like Brees Hall. But it's a business, and if production isn't there, we'll have to see. So that's Jack Sawyer to the Steelers. Let's see who else we got. Or let's see if Green Bay. Yeah, that's a little bit surprising. And I wonder how it look. I know Shedeur is having this free fall. If you're Shedeur, how do you feel if a team like Green Bay takes you and says, we're going to develop you for the next 3 years, and then we're going to try to trade you, or you're going to replace Jordan Love, which, I don't know how realistic, but, and I'm saying Green Bay because they're on the clock. I should just say any team. If Shedeur goes to a team where they have a quarterback and they tell him, you're not playing for a few years. I mean, That's a bitter pill to swallow. Like, yeah, I got drafted, but I thought somebody was going to draft me and make me their day one starter, and instead, um, yeah, that's a little scary. Yeah, I just talked about that. Eat your crow. Someone tweeted it. Was it Scott? Somebody tweeted out that Smith was John Gruden's sleeper. Let's see. Packers are picking. Baron Sorrell, the edge out of Texas, goes to the Packers. Uh, Surprised they didn't take another wide receiver. So Big Frank, what are my thoughts on Shedeur? I started out the top of the show with that. Recap it again real quick. And what I said, if the Jets took him, I get it. If the Jets, if he's still on the board again when they pick, and the Jets take him, I would understand why. And also, if the Jets don't take him, I would understand why. Really, Jet specific is the fact that Aaron Glenn has said and made it clear, and this is why they reportedly cut ties with Aaron Rodgers. They didn't want a celebrity quarterback. They want a quarterback, not a. They wanted a guy not who was, he won not 1 plus 52. They wanted somebody who was part of the 53. And that's not to say Shedeur wouldn't be that way in the locker room, but I think they mean in terms of profile and just stature, however you want to word it. That's what, again, this is the reports on why they didn't want Rodgers. So right off the bat, I thought to myself, well, that's kind of got to take Shedeur out of the running, right? Because Shedeur is already a celebrity. He's already a megastar, and he's not stepped on the field yet. So I thought the Jets would shy away from him. But if you do take him, you're getting tremendous value. You're getting a guy who many people feel, I mean, yes, there were some detractors, but I think a lot of people feel like he was a first round talent, even if it was a bottom of the first round talent. Um, but you're getting him this late, which again is insane value. He could develop into a starter. He could develop into a guy who gives you a valuable trade chip. Maybe you take him with a 4 or a 5, and then he balls out in a couple of preseasons, and you get him into a couple of regular season games, and he plays well. And all of a sudden, you're getting multiple 1s or some 2s, whatever it may be. So even if you plan to flip him, there's some great value there. So I would understand why you go get him. If you don't go get him, there's the high profile. Again, this is Jet specific with the profile and them not wanting that. Even if that wasn't a thing, you have to look at, you just gave Justin Fields a boatload of money and told the, sorry, you just paid Justin Fields a ton of money and told the world that you believe in him and your plan is to let him just relax and play quarterback and develop him because he's your guy. You bring in Sanders with the Jets, and all of a sudden, immediately, you've brought somebody in that Fields is going to be looking over his shoulder, and the second he struggles, the fans are going to be calling for him to get benched. That is Fields, that is. So that's why I think the Jets might stay away. As far as other teams, I think the fact that, because even as somebody with Fields who didn't think, well, this may have even been pre that, I didn't think it was a good idea for Coach Prime to go on television or come out publicly and suggest that he was interested in controlling where his son would play. And I said, on the one hand, I don't blame him because you want to look out for your kid. But on the other hand, if you're an owner or a GM, and I think I may even said it at the time, like if Shedeur plays and he's a hit, can you imagine that first contract negotiation? Like, or if you draft him and he doesn't play well, which would be the bigger concern to me, is that if you bench him, you run the risk of a former NFL great Hall of Famer with a large platform going on social media and dogging out your coaches and saying they don't know what they're doing. Or whether he plays poorly and keeps playing poorly, that could happen. And if he plays poorly and you bench him, that could happen. So a lot of sort of risks for headaches that you can avoid if you take a different quarterback that don't exist with other guys. And as far as the physical, like the on-field stuff, the holes in his game, to me, those are almost irrelevant because everybody has holes in their game. Every single guy that gets drafted, you can say, well, he doesn't do this. I've heard people say, oh, well, he's not getting drafted because he takes too many sacks. Well, that's part of it. He's not getting drafted because he doesn't have the best arm in the class, or he might have the weakest arm in the class. That could be part of it too. But every player has something about their game that you can point to and say, he's not the best at this. He's not the best at this. that everyone's got that. Then nobody would get drafted. If you didn't draft every player who had a hole in their game, you'd never draft anybody. Sorry, is that Randy Johnson? No, okay. Thought there was a crazy commercial on for a second. I don't get a lot of look. I'm in England. I don't get the American commercials. I remember when I've been overseas for years at one point, and I was back in the States, and funny enough, we were at the ESPN zone in New York watching a Jets game, and some commercial came on. I started laughing. I was like, "Oh, it's hilarious!" And my friends were like, "Is that the first time you've seen that? Like that commercial's been running for 2 years. We're tired of looking at it." I was like, "No, I've never seen it before." And that was they didn't realize that like I was living on bases where you don't get commercials. So every now and then when I'm watching games, a commercial will pop up and it catches my eye. Shane Gillis and what's his name? The singer guy, Post Malone. Who's living a better life? I think I said that yesterday, didn't I? Every time I see Shane Gillis now, I'm like, who's got a better life than that guy right now? Jeremy says he's a backup at best, talking about Shedeur. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people feel that way. I think he can be a good starter. I wouldn't have hated the idea of the Jets moving back a little and taking him. I didn't think it was going to happen, but if they had done it, it wouldn't. It would have made me mad. It would have surprised me because of the things I just listed, not wanting a celebrity and things like that. But I don't know. I just feel for the guy. I feel like whether you want to say he's not worthy of being a top 5 pick, and maybe nobody should have told him he was. The bottom line is this is a kid, like you can't deny the work ethic. You can't deny the toughness. Because to me, that was the biggest thing that jumped out to me about him this season, the number of hits he took. And even if you want to talk about, well, some of them were his fault. Yeah, some hits are every quarterback's fault. But he specifically, I think what was it, 52, 53 sacks that he took? And that dude just kept getting up and getting up and getting up. I got a lot of respect for that. That showed a lot of toughness to me. Just going to jump ahead right here to round 5 and refresh my memory on where the Jets are picking. They are picking 7th and 26th in the 5th round. And of course, they didn't have their 3rd rounder that they gave up for a handful of games for Devontae Adams, which I didn't hate that trade at the time. When the season ended, and it was like, oh, by the way, Aaron Rodgers was hurt that whole time. It's like, oh, okay, well, then that was stupid. Like, did you think he was magically going to get better and stop getting dinged up through the season as the year went on? You were already sort of not mathematically eliminated, but realistically not going to do anything. And then you find out the quarterback's hurt all the time, or the quarterback's been hurt the whole time, and then you go out and give up a 3 to trade for his best friend. That was a Woody Johnson maneuver. And I think a lot of them were. I think I could be wrong here. I'm just guessing. But the couple of times in his tenure that it's become apparent that Woody Johnson is meddling, I think he meddles when the team gets good. Like some owners might be like, we suck, I'm stepping in, and I'm going to start making decisions. I don't think Woody does that. I think Woody, there have been a couple of times where he's hearing on the news, Woody's watching the news, listening to the radio, and he hears people say the Jets are a Super Bowl contender, and he goes, I got to put my stamp on this. Like, if we're good, I got to be a part of it. I haven't really done anything personnel-wise, and if we go to the Super Bowl, it's going to look like I did nothing. So, Rex was in town, and the Jets people were saying they had a shot at the Super Bowl. Woody's, go get Tim Tebow. Positive guy, good, positive name. Everybody loves him. Everybody didn't love him. The media loved him. Well, I shouldn't say that. The sports media loved him. The regular media didn't really care for him. And then this time around, everyone, we're talking about this might be the best Jets team in history. Look at all these moves. And then Woody steps in and says, trade, sign Mike Williams, sign Tyron Smith, bring back Tim Tebow again. That didn't happen. But yeah, I think Woody doesn't meddle when they suck. I think Woody meddle. Maybe he does that too, and we just don't know about it. But I mean, in terms of the times we've heard that he gets involved, it's when it looks like things are about to go really well. And that's when he steps in and says, I got to get involved here. So Who knows? Who knows? A couple more picks off the board here. Another edge. Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina goes to the Chargers. Dylan Sampson. I heard some people say they thought he was the best back in the class. I don't know if he was. Well, sorry, no, not nobody said he was better than Genti. That was stupid. But I've seen people speak of him much higher than I expected people to. So he goes to Cleveland, and then Iowa State tackle Jalen Travis goes to Indianapolis. Let's look at a little bit Kyle Kennard because he's a guy, um, again, that I saw late in the year. Not late, but late enough. And I just came away. I was like, oh my God, like this dude, great first step. He can get skinny and split blockers. Um, I thought he could be a factor off the edge. Let's see, just explosive off the snap. Got a couple on him here. Let's see, Kyle Kennard. I got up doing that. Let's blow this up and let that play again. Number 5 off the edge there. I mean, look how quickly he gets. And look, I get that he's unblocked. So I'm not highlighting that. It's the quickness with which the speed that he gets into that backfield. Look at that. The running back, I don't think, has completed his first step yet, and Kennard is wrapping him up. Let's see what else we got on him. Nope. Here he is picking up a sack off the edge. Again, he was one of the reasons I felt like this edge class. Look at that. See, you're getting him in round 4. I mean, there were enough good players in this draft that's kind of what I felt like. I felt like this is a really good player you can get late round 3, late round 3 or early day 3. And he can be a factor. He's a good player. Sorry about that. And now it's Washington Commanders wide receiver, or the Washington Commanders take wide receiver Jalen Lane. Baltimore is on the clock. They are picking next. Lane, another speedster, another sub 4.4 guy. There were a lot of those. I think this year had more sub 4.4 40s than ever. I think we're at a point now where, you know, 4.35 is going to be the new 4.4 because you have so many guys running sub 4.4s that it's now the sub 4.35 guys. You're like, wow, because they're now as uncommon as 4.4s used to be, and 4.4s are now. It's like everyone shaved a half a second, or the fastest guys have shaved a half a second. But look, you add him to Washington with Jaden Daniels. I think I called him Jalen Daniels earlier. For those of you unfamiliar, that's the quarterback with Kansas, who I've liked for a couple of years now, but he's battled injuries. I don't know what he's done to his draft stock. He's going back to school again. So he's going to be like one of these 6-7 year players in college. I really like Jalen Daniels, though. Winner, can run. Not a really big guy, but he's got a good arm. Jameer DK, that really surprised me going that early. So, yeah, I mean, that's a good job by Washington, adding a player who's that explosive. Baltimore Ravens are on the clock. Let's see. We haven't looked at the board in a little while. The best remaining per NFL.com. Jalen Royal is now at the top of that list. Smail Mondon, the linebacker. Oh, what do we got here? The linebacker out of Georgia. Brady Swinson, Isaiah Bond, Shedeur. See, even NFL.com, they got him low. He is currently their 5th best player on NFL.com. Joshua Farmer, Marcus Bowe, Dominic Lovett, Cam Jackson, JJ Pagee, Ty Hamilton, Nick Nash, Elikai Manor. That's the guy I hope the Jets would take today. If they went with a receiver. They did not. Incredible hands, body control, those things you look for. So from Iowa Manor, you got Torrey Horton, Jalen Reed, the safety from Penn State, Warren Brinson, another DT. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, great story. You see, he played one game this year against New Mexico, season opener, went over 100 yards. I believe he went over 100 yards. And then he goes to the East West Shrine Bowl on very short notice. He only had a couple days to prepare, and he went out and won the MVP. Looked phenomenal running the ball. Miles Frazier, love him. Absolutely love him. You've heard me and Dom C talk about him. Well, you may have seen me and Dom C talk about him. The way I loved, McMillan and Walker, that's how Dom C feels about Frazier. But I'm really high on him too. Just a tone setter, nasty road grader type, blows up defenders. Terry Ingram Dawkins is 19th of their top 20 remaining. And then Chris Paul Jr., the linebacker out of Mississippi. And I'm trying to see, Dawkins, another guy, 276. I didn't think he was a big run stuffer type. Because that's, oh, here we go. No, he went away. Ian Rappaport was on my screen momentarily. I'm sure I missed whatever it was he was saying. I'm sure it had something to do with Shedeur. And see, I like that pick a lot. Teddy Buchanan, Cal linebacker, goes to the Baltimore Ravens. They have a kid, I forget his name now, because I'm trying to focus on this year's guys. They got a linebacker at Cal who's gonna, I'm assuming, take over for Buchanan. Man, that dude is good. I'll probably put out a list within a few days of the draft. I'll put out a list of some of my favorite guys going into this season and look for the Cal linebacker. Oh, did the Jets trade up? Jets traded up. The Jets are on the clock, folks. New York Jets on the clock. And I'm sure if I go on Twitter, they'll spoil it for me and tell me who the pick is. But I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. Even though I don't want to wait. But you know what? I'm going to wait because I want to look at who's available. Let's try to call it here, folks. Let's try to call it. They just took a receiver. Let me kill this audio. Try to kill this audio. Sorry. Drafted, undrafted. So, who remains? Jalen Royals. They just took a receiver. I don't think you're taking a linebacker. That's being Smail Munden, Brady Swinson, Isaiah Bond, the receiver. Shedeur, don't see it. How about some Joshua Farmer? Can we take Joshua Farmer here? Let's grab Joshua Farmer. I think or JJ Pegee. Farmer, Pegee. Again, can't see it being another receiver. If they want another safety and they're not making a move there, then Jalen Reed, absolutely sign me up. The guy I just talked about, Miles Frazier, love him, but you can't keep drafting backups at this point in the draft. You gotta grab some guys who are going to play for you this year. So that's my wish list. I actually want to go by position. Actually, let's see here. Yeah, okay, we still have time. I would like Farmer. I want to see who the best remaining tight ends are. Actually, let's look at edge first. Jared Ivey out of Minnesota, I really like. I don't know if he's the size they're looking for, though. Braden Swinson would be a good one. Ja Joyner out of Minnesota would be a good one. As far as the edge goes, let's see, make sure they're not announcing the pick. They are not. Tight ends. I guess this is the order they have them in. They have Thomas Fedone, who I like, don't love. Mitchell Evans, not a fan. Jackson Hawes, purely a blocker, but a good enough one that you take him. Joshua Simon, South Carolina, not bad. Briningstool, not physical enough, in my opinion. Luke Lachey, I feel like you could get him in round 7. And I mocked him to the Jets a few times as well, the Jets don't have a 7, but I mocked him as a 6 a few times. CJ Dupree out of Alabama, feel like he's under. How about Gadsden? Why don't we go get Gadsden and get a couple of kids of former Miami Dolphins to be a tight end tandem. That's not going to happen. Jalen Conyers, I really like out of Texas Tech. I said previously he was my favorite day 3 guy. So there are some tight ends out there. The DTs, most of the ones I really like are gone, but I'm guessing Joshua Farmer here. And let's see. Did the Jets make the pick? Is it announced? If it is, they blew right through that. All right, so they do want a safety. The one position I've been saying all day I don't want to comment on because I don't know how I feel about it. Now, Malachi Moore, everything you hear about the guy, you see it on film, super, super smart guy. Again, another major program that wins almost all of their football games. So Aaron Glenn staying true to his word, true to the brand, wanting to bring in guys who just expect to win because they've done so much of it. So bringing in more from that perspective makes sense. That then, to me anyway, means the pick of Thomas makes a little bit less sense because now you legitimately went out and got a true safety. Where'd we go here? There we go. Let's rewind that. Malachi Moore. I mean, he's a leader, field general, coming downhill, sound tackle. That's there's some guys in this class, and Malachi Moore is one of them. These guys that are just sound tacklers, and they don't go in and try to lay a guy out with a shoulder, and wait for a mistake to happen, or cause a mistake to happen, unforced error, if you will. So I like the pick of Malachi Moore. Again, they needed a safety. If the plan wasn't to move somebody there, and now we got 2 Malachis, Malachi Moore. My God, Malachi Moore and Malachi Corley. Not a ton of picks, 7 career interceptions in 5 years. Had 2 last season, but he's again. If you were going to go with a safety on day 3, he's a good option, and he's sort of, we've talked about the Brian Branch, the effect, and now Branch was a better prospect, but he fell. Moore is a guy who fills that role. The Jets don't have a true free safety back there, and we've talked about that a few times this offseason, but now they have one. Let's see here. All right. So there you have it. I don't know the trade. Did they give up? They probably gave up their 2/5. Let's see. No, they got the 26th pick. Let's see if they throw the. If anyone wants to throw that up there, feel free. Give me 1 second here. And we're back. Let's see. Like I said, I haven't used the mic arm in a while. I think I disconnected for a second. All right, so rather than 2 picks in the next round, the Jets will have 1, and that is the 26th pick, 162 overall in round 5. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, didn't realize we still had more up there. Let's pull that out. Okay. Let's see. See what else we have on Malachi Moore here. Here we go. I think I remember this one. Let's see. Yeah, big shot dislodges the ball. That's always what you want to see. Guy who's aware enough comes downhill, lays the wood, jars the ball loose, incomplete pass. He gets low, wraps. He's a fundamentally sound player. Let's see. Yeah. And still no Shedeur. What are we thinking here, folks, with Shedeur? I mean, really, like I said, I understand the pros and cons, but thought of him not getting drafted popped into my head. I mentioned that earlier when the Steelers didn't take him. I was like, "Oh my god, that is literally the single best spot for him to go." And we were led to believe they liked him, and they apparently did. Well, I mean, they might like him, but how much do you like a quarterback if you're not willing to take him in the first 4 rounds? I don't like that people are killing the quarterbacks that went ahead of him, though. Like, they didn't do anything wrong. They're just showing up to work, doing their job, and people are liking what they see. And who was it? There was at least one commentator who said he had Shuck higher than I almost said Prime. Prime's not the quarterback. My brain, I'm too old. Too many days of this. I'm going crazy. Shedeur, and my head's going Prime. Dion, Prime. Shedeur was ranked below Shuck on a couple of boards. Even we're talking, analysts. I'm not talking team boards. I don't have access to those. I'm not going to pretend I do. But it shouldn't be completely shocking that he went first, and we shouldn't be killing him for it. Shucks, I get it. There are huge question marks. There are huge concerns. But some teams liked him more, and they went with him. Well, one team liked him more, and they went with him. And that was I've mentioned it a couple times now. That was something that Todd McShay mentioned on his What He Was Hearing pod, which was that. Sorry, let's get this out of here. He said that the Saints didn't like Shedeur enough not only to not take him at 40 or at 9, they didn't like him enough to take him at 40. And now here we are at 133, and nobody has liked him enough to take him. So it's I keep going back and forth between there's no way no one's going to take him to it sure does look like he's going to go undrafted, which is unbelievable. Oh, Quincy Riley to the Saints. I missed that. That was after the Jets pick. Ruben Hippolyte. Not a guy I watched a ton of. Not going to lie to you on that one. And I watched a fair bit of Maryland because I liked some of their linemen. I liked some of their receivers. Don't recall. And there goes Jalen Royals to the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes gets another weapon. But it's not just me, right? It feels like Chiefs receivers are underwhelming or have been underwhelming of late in recent years. Again, I got to get used to having this thing here. So it's not shocking that they did take one. I remember wondering if they would take another one early in this year's class, having taken Worthy last year. But another weapon, Pat Mahomes gets Jalen Royals, small school receiver out of Utah State. We talked a little bit about him leading up to the draft, and probably got more love than, or was probably talked about more than any other really small school guy. Really good hands, good after the catch, stuff like that. So we'll see. Andy Reid, you can't question anything Andy Reid does. That dude, I mean, he's a monster. And spare me, he lost to Philly. Like, that dude went to Super Bowls and NFC championships on a regular basis with Donovan McNabb. Spare me 1 second here. So who's on the clock now? We got Denver on the clock at 1:34. Let's see. Their pick is in. The Raiders on the clock. So the Jets lose a pick. I really expected them to be super aggressive, trying to move up, and trying to move down, and they stand pat at every pick and then move up once. Now really not enough ammo unless there's a trade in the works for a player, but I don't see that happening. I feel like any players they would trade, be it Brees or Quincy, they have too much value to trade at this point. Let me see. While we're sitting here waiting for that pick, let's see if we have anything on Jalen Royals. I'm sure I do. Let's see. Yeah, Jalen Royals had a game against Boise State that I mean, well, Genty went off against everybody, but this had to have been one of his better games. Here's Jalen Royals. Lined up in the slot, hit him over the middle on the hash, makes a couple of guys miss, and then fast enough to outrun. I mean, he's 35-10 at that point, but still, yeah, he was productive all year, put up big numbers. And as I said, probably got more attention than any other small school guy as far as from what I saw. Q Robinson, Alabama edge. That's Denver. Denver just as if that defensive front wasn't good enough last year. They've now added a couple more guys to that front. I don't know if Robinson's going to be a starter type material guy. His size, he's kind of similar size to Jalen Walker, where everybody said, "What's his position? Is he a backer? Is he an end?" I'm sure they'll have a plan for him though. Denver's doing a pretty decent job. Pretty good, right? Was that Larry David, right? I don't watch a lot of Larry David, which is weird because he's a Jets fan. I've watched like 5 minutes of Curb, but everyone talks about Curb. Let's see. I'm trying to remember who else Denver took up front, who I really liked. I just remember them grabbing somebody and being really surprised and thinking, "Damn, that's a good fit." Pat Bryant, Savion Jones, that was it. So they go back-to-back edge rushers with a defense that just killed quarterbacks last year. Can never have enough. Jets, the Jets are back to not having pass rushers. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I mean, it's not as bad as it used to be. You've got Will McDonald, and beyond that, you don't know what you're getting from Jermaine Johnson when he returns, coming off of a ruptured Achilles. So that's all you got. You got Jermaine Johnson, and you have a question mark, and that's all. And that's why I thought we'd see an edge at some point for the Jets. But we didn't. I'm going to go back into the recap of the Jets picks. Yeah. This is it's weird. It's weird to look at. Corner and a safety. Safety I get. Sometimes you go best player and it means you draft a guy who's going to sit behind somebody for a while. This was the pick announcement. I missed this. Yeah. And you heard us talk about this before the draft. That there was a good chance Aaron Glenn was going to go out and draft a bunch of guys from these major programs. Tonka Hemingway, he was one of the DTs I still liked. Tonka Hemingway, I'll tell you what, I can't not think Sheldon Richardson when I see him. Not saying he's the same type of player. He's not bad. He's a good player, just different style. But the fact he wears number 91 and South Carolina used him a fair bit on the goal line. He had a few touchdown runs. You remember Rex did that with Sheldon Richardson. And I liked him. I think when I rattled off the names of the remaining DTs who I liked, Tonka Hemingway was on there. So there's another one off the board. Tonka Hemingway gone to the Raiders, I believe that was. The Las Vegas Raiders. And he's not like a 340 guy, I don't think. Yes, he's 285. I thought he was a little bigger than that. But I think he'll be a good player. What do they have him rated at here? Average backup, says NFL. I forget years ago, and it happens all the time. You do it for fun. Somebody's reading J.J. Watt's old scouting report, and it was just like they just knocked him for everything. You basically would have thought he was a fringe, special teamer who probably wasn't going to hang around in the league. And then there's the famous article. Saw it yesterday. I read it years ago when the Steelers, the year they took Bruce Irvin and Russ and was it Sherman? I don't know. And they got torn apart for that they were stupid and they didn't know how the draft worked. And Russ Wilson doesn't fit what they do. And yeah, sometimes these takes, man. It's probably why I'm so like some people are just overbearing with like their opinions. I'm right. You must accept it. I'm like, man, I've seen some of the smartest people in the history of the league be wrong about stuff. I know for damn sure I'm going to be wrong about stuff. So I'm pretty chill with I don't get too sanctimonious with my takes on players. Like, I like guys. I mean, every now and then there's a player that I'm just so convinced he's going to be good. I'll probably be a little bit more adamant about my takes. But people who insist they can't be wrong. Let's see here. What do we do? Okay, so this is the Malachi Moore draft party at his place. People going nuts, as they do. Favre still has the most classic one. I think was he like in a trailer or something? Looked like it. I don't know. Elikai Manor. I'd said earlier he was the guy I'd hope the Jets would target. If they were to go receiver, they went receiver, did not take him. He goes to Tennessee. Phenomenal hands. Phenomenal hands. And now, okay, so it looks like the page, the NFL, yeah. Okay, so the live draft coverage was lagging behind the draft tracker. So we've got, Iron Manor has just been announced on there. But Seattle is on the clock with the second to last pick in the 4th round of the 2025 NFL Draft. They're going to have some... Yeah, that guy's... Iron Manor's ridiculous hands. I think I may have been watching that game live. They just showed the play where he caught the ball with the defender between him and the ball and literally pinned the ball to the dude's helmet and ran into the end zone for a touchdown while holding the ball against the defender to make sure it didn't drop. So Andre Cisco tweeting out, Cook Moog. Happy to see, and in response to the Malachi Moore pick, apparently happy to be adding another safety to that secondary to pair with him. Let's see what we got here. The Patriots, the New England Patriots have moved up, and they now have the second to last pick in the 4th round. That pick is in with San Francisco on the clock. I can't remember how long they have between picks as the rounds go on and on and on. Let's see here. Our friend Gus Toon, Gus, saying he guess he's got his new jersey, Malachi Moore. This signals a high level of approval from Gus. So, as I said, okay, so the Pats got a 4th in exchange for a 5 and a 7 with Seattle to move up. And it's in. No, that's a little too loud. Dial that back. So far, the Pats have taken Will Campbell, Travion Henderson. Of course, they got Williams out of Washington State, which we talked about. Not a bad class. Not a bad class. We talked about them getting Wilson, another offensive lineman out of Georgia, the center, and then Woodson, the Cal safety, who I thought was, again, not a bad safety class. And it's really, I think of all the position groups, safety is the deepest group that doesn't get talked about enough. You don't hear a lot of people saying that there's some depth to this class, and I think there is. In fact, taking a look at, I was going to say, look at who's available, and this is sort of irrelevant as far as the Jets are concerned. They're not taking another one, but the fact that they took one, that suggests that Thomas is a backup, and they used 72 on a backup. And I mean, it's not like you've got a corner who's on the final year of his deal. I mean, you're gonna extend Sauce. So you may have just used pick 72 on a multi-year backup. And they're talking about Daniel Jeremiah's top 100. Still plenty of guys out there. Pat's pick being announced from Brazil. Joshua Farmer goes to New England. Deion Walker goes to Buffalo. Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah just said Joshua Farmer was his, I don't hear what he said, 77th ranked player. Awesome. Let's look at Joshua Farmer. Huge man in the middle of that FSU defense. Start that one over again. Number 5, lined up on the left, gets right through the blockers and just envelops the quarterback who thinks he's going to take off and run. Joshua Farmer says, no, in fact, you will not. Wow. All right. And let's see. Joshua Farmer on a stunt. Penetration on a stunt. Yep, fakes outside, stunts inside, gets to the ball carrier for the stop in the backfield. Good player. Really the type of guy, the ideal type of guy the Jets could use. Hmm. So, I mean, really, I mean, I guess there are a couple of DTs left. But the Jets had a really hard time stopping the run last year, and that could be the case again this year. Could be. We'll see. We don't know. We're guessing. We're just talking. Just talking. 49ers on the clock. Final pick of round 4. And here we go. Jump back. Okay, Jordan Watkins. Ole Miss, man. They got a bunch of receivers. Ran a 4.37, and they have just big play guys who got it done for Lane Kiffin. He goes to San Fran, where obviously issues with their receivers with Debo, that whole mess, and who knows what's going to happen with the rest of the guys they have there. So it makes sense for them to go out and grab a speed guy, which puts the Minnesota Vikings on the clock. Hmm. What are we thinking, folks? How are we feeling about this Jets waiting this long to grab a DT? Rich says totally disappointed. Jets want to win in the trenches and nothing for the D line. Maybe they really like these guys they signed, Rich. These guys who are, you know, purely depth guys. They must really like them. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. Minnesota on the clock to kick off round number 5. And all right, that pick is in with the Panthers up next. The Jets don't pick until 26th this round. So it's going to be a little while. I was going to look at the DTs, wasn't I? Prospects still remaining, undrafted. Hang on, the page is taking a second here to get moving. Let's take a look and see if anyone's got anything interesting to say on Twitter. Let's see. All right. No, I don't know why the NFL.com page. I was gonna go through the list with you guys of. Oh, here we go. We appear to be working again. Again, JJ Peggy still out there. Cam Jackson still out there. Wow. I want to find. I'm drawing a blank on the name. There's a DT who I really do like from UCLA. Tuia, Toia. See if I can find him. I'm drawing a total blank right now. Mm. I wonder how much PFN updates their mocks. It probably goes to the end of like round 3 if I try to run a mock right now. Let's see what happens. I do like that they do this though. I do like that you can log in, they preload the picks, and you just kind of pick up from where the draft left off the previous day. Oh, no, it's still going. They are entering the picks as they go. Wow, that's pretty cool. Because then you really can get a good feel for what's out there. Although, okay, so it's simulated up to where because I took the Jets. So who do we have as of right now? Cam Jackson. They are not going to get a DT, folks. In one of the deepest DT classes in the history of DT classes, the Jets are passing on all of the DTs. Well, again, McGee is a good one. And look, Howard crossed the third too. He's got to be out there still. He's a weird one. I thought he was going to be much higher on people's board. Toya, is that what I said? Toya, Jay Toya, UCLA. Now, if you get that dude later on, I'm feeling pretty good. 340-pound run stuffer up the middle. Um, or maybe instead of taking 2 defensive tackles, which you could do, maybe you just go get Desmond Watson, who is as big as 2 defensive tackles. That could be an option too. 464-pound D tackle. He is actually the second to last graded defensive lineman or defensive tackle in this class per NFL.com. So there are some big dudes left, but to me, Pagee, the size, physicality, or sorry, the athleticism, and what does he weigh in at? Pagee, I think might be. Is he going to be someone who weighs less than I thought? Yeah, 309. I thought he was a little bit more than that. I mean, so if you want to get a true run stuffing monster, those guys are gone until you get to the bottom of the pile in terms of ratings. Or again, grades on here, how these guys see it. Elijah Simmons, he's another one. Um, Tennessee kid. And the guy I mentioned earlier, Nazir Stackhouse. He could maybe the Jets are looking at it and saying, we're either not going to take a DT or we're just going to take like a lower level guy later on. But Stackhouse to me might be a steal if you're looking for a guy who can purely stop the run. Very, very confusing approach here, folks. I would have preferred a run stuffing DT over a backup corner, but they went with the backup corner. I mean, I know we're still talking about yesterday, but that's probably the biggest, most glaring WTF moment. And that's fine. Look, I hope everyone I question goes on to be a Hall of Famer, and I hope years from now people are saying, "Oh, look how stupid you were when you said this guy wasn't a good pick." And again, not saying not a good player, just saying where does it make sense? Um, yeah. Wow. I'm trying to think. Let's take a quick look. I'm gonna take a look at the Jets DT depth chart on our lads. Maybe let's see. Yeah. Not the most inspiring. Derek Nottie, Byron Cowart, Fedarian Mathis, who could be a player. Quinnen Williams, Jay Tafili, and Leonard Taylor III, who did some nice things as a rookie. Ravens are on the board. We're on the clock. There we go. All right. Oh, Sam Howell gets dealt. I've been saying for a couple of years, man, I would have loved that dude as a backup. He's one of those guys that I don't understand it sometimes. The speed at which some fans will give up on a player. Like Sam Howell was a guy with no pro experience, and he finally got in some games, and he threw a bunch of big touchdowns, but he threw a bunch of big interceptions. But he was a young guy. Like, you can coach him, do a better job taking care of the ball, blah, blah, blah. Guy had 1 year of play, and everybody's like, well, we know what that guy is. You can trade him. He's a backup. He's a low level this, that. I'm like, it's 1 year. 1 year. And yeah. So Sam Howell is traded to the Minnesota Vikings, where he will obviously be a backup, and along with a fifth rounder, and then that fifth, then Seattle gets a fifth in return, 142. So Seattle gives up Howell and 172 in exchange for 142. Really, really thought we'd see the Jets take advantage of this situation, this DT situation. Clearly, I was wrong by a lot. It happens. Oh, here we go. I'm assuming more Shedeur talk. 1 second. All right. So we're going to find out who Seattle's pick is after they moved up, making the pick from Dusseldorf. Okay. A DT? DN Riley Mills, Notre Dame. So not another DT off the board. Another sub 300-pound guy. Lean frame again for his size. For a guy who weighs 291, but he's checks in at over 6'5", and has some injury history, which will obviously be a consideration. But man, man, oh man, really not sure what to say anymore with the defensive situation. Um, what do I think of this draft? Up to now, you didn't take advantage of the DT situation. You drafted a backup corner with your 72nd pick. Um, don't love it, but you like the Taylor pick. You love the Membu pick. Really, I really, really like the Taylor pick. So they got off to a good start, and then you draft a backup and a receiver with a ton of drops. Um, I like Malachi Moore. Is that Madrid? It is Madrid. Plaza Mayor. Went there a few years ago with a friend of mine. Very, very cool city. Very cool spot. Dolphins. Get the Dolphins out of Madrid. Soiling a beautiful city like that. Who are the Dolphins taking? Defensive tackle. Jordan Phillips. Maryland. Let's see what we got on Jordan Phillips. For those of you tuning in. Let's see. Maryland DT Jordan Phillips goes to the Dolphins. There will literally be no defensive tackles left by the time the Jets are picking again. And he might be a That's aggravating. I've clearly. Oh, hang on. Is that what's happening here? I think I may have figured something out. Nope. For some reason, not coming up. Who we got here? We've got a trade. Cleveland Browns moving on up. Is this for Shedeur? I mean, how many times can we say, is this Shedeur? It'd be nice if it was Shedeur. 1, 2, 3, 4 of the last 5 picks have been defensive tackles. Wow. Hmm. All right. What do we think, folks? Do we think it could be Shedeur here? Do we think he can finally go? Which Florida DT? There's a couple of them, Rich. Which Florida DT are you talking about? Oh, did you mean Cam Jackson, who went already? Like I said, Nazir Stackhouse. Or were you talking about Desmond Watson, who hasn't been taken? But as I said, he is drafting him is like drafting 2 defensive tackles. Um, Fun though. I remember watching him a couple of years ago, and those 2 guys side by side. I was like, those guys weigh almost 1,000 pounds. I mean, not almost, but he was what 450, 800, 800 pounds between 2 guys. I mean, Jesus, that's tough to run against, and not just slugs, not just big guys who stand there. I mean, you saw from Watson, he's like a legit athlete. I saw they did the math on this. I don't know how these brainiacs figure this stuff out, but if he was like a 220-pound linebacker for the speed he ran at 464 pounds, that would have been the equivalent of like a 3.2-second run for a linebacker. It's ridiculous. My info says this GM is a joke. I don't want to. I'm not gonna have a knee jerk reaction over it, but it's like let's see what they do. Let's see them play. But at the same time, I'm not gonna pretend to be happy that they took a backup corner instead of a starting DT. Um, because I mean it was one of their bigger needs. And like I said, they can still get somebody. I don't think Desmond Watson is on their radar. I just don't think he may even be a UDFA at this point. But again, I could see JJ Piggy, Ty Hamilton, again, another major school, major college, lots of wins. He would make sense in that regard. Warren Brinson, another guy. You bring a kid in out of Georgia, done nothing but win a bunch of football games. He wouldn't be a bad option. Aeneas Peebles is a guy who to me, one of the better first steps in the class. If you want to bring in a guy who's going to be able to penetrate and create pressure on third down, I would like Peebles for that reason. Elijah Simmons is a bigger guy. Stackhouse. We haven't talked about Stackhouse size or height, weight. I'm sure he's one of the bigger guys. Yeah, 327, and he plays like I think he could be a fit. I think we're sitting here talking about still needing a big run stuffing DT and Aaron Glenn wanting guys from winning programs. I think Nazir Stackhouse is somebody, as we sit here in early round 4, mid round 4, I think when the Jets are next on the clock, they cannot not address DT. And let's take a look. How many picks now do the Jets have left? Because I cannot count. No, I just can never keep up as it's happening. I got to scroll and click and check. 2 picks. Jets got 2 picks left. Wow. So safe to say they're not getting 2 defensive tackles. Safe to say, well, they could take another tight end. They could get 2 tight ends. But maybe they like this kid smart. Maybe they're like smart enough to pass on a tight end. Yeah. Those first 3 picks, Membu, Taylor, or sorry, the first 2 picks, Membu, Taylor, you really like. Then Thomas, you think, okay, good player, but he's not going to play. Of course, he can get on the field if somebody gets hurt. Um, and then with Arian Smith, you got a guy who dropped a ton of footballs. Malachi Moore, good all around player, solid safety. I think he's a good pick. Um, but the thing is missing out on a tackle. Gonna go back live now. There you go. Shedeur Sanders is a Cleveland Brown. Let me turn this on. Listen, I get that it sucks for him. Want to be a top 5 pick. But damn, I was starting to think he was going to go undrafted. And that would have been, I mean, there's just when you think something can't get worse, as bad as things were for Shedeur, I'm glad. I'm happy for the kid. I'm happy for him. I think, did somebody just say another quarterback? How many? Cleveland didn't draft another quarterback at some point, did they? They may have. Like I said, I lose track. Oh, they took Dylan Gabriel, of course. Wow. So Cleveland trying to fix that quarterback room. And that's interesting now, though, because now we'll get to see an exact side by side comparison of the two guys who a lot of people said, and I understand why. People saying Shedeur should have been picked first, over Gabriel. Well, now they'll be in the same huddle, same locker room, same coaching, and we'll see who gets the better results. I suspect it'll be Shedeur. Um, yeah, I'm glad the kid got taken because, like I said, when Pittsburgh didn't take him, I was like, oh my god, this might be a thing. This guy might not get drafted, which would have been terrible for him. So Shedeur goes there. Philly on the clock. Jets are not up for another 18 picks. Who knows what or who will be on the board by that time? Yeah, my info, I get it. Says this GM, Darren Muji, of course. My info says this GM is a joke. Um, let's see. You know, um, the approach this year. This could be a situation with Muji. Um, the DT thing. I mean, not that it would have prevented them from drafting one, but I think they went cheap in free agency because they're trying to keep enough cap space to add the big name guys they want to keep, right? You want to keep Sauce, you want to keep Garrett, you want to keep JJ, assuming JJ has a good year this year. And then after this year, folks, the clock ticks quickly. After this year, Will McDonald's eligible for an extension. So if Will McDonald goes out there and has himself another double-digit sack season, as much as Aaron Glenn loves to get after it and blitz, let's say Will McDonald has himself a 15 sack season. Now you got another huge contract coming down the pike. I mean, how many guys can you pay 25 million a year, right? There's got to be a limit to that. So maybe that's why they went cheap in free agency this year. But as far as DT, that doesn't explain why they're not taking one. Not the most inspiring situation. And let's see here. Yeah. Okay, who's up? New England Patriots. The pick is in. I wonder what that phone call's like. With Shedeur. Yeah, there's the conversation on NFL.com and or on the NFL Network, and Daniel Jeremiah, he's not wrong. That is a very, very crowded quarterback room in Cleveland. Um, so Shadeur's going to have to put that work in. And look, like I said, the toughness that stood out to me, like that's the type of stuff that tells you how competitive a guy is. When you're willing to keep getting up and getting your brains kicked in over and over and over again, that to me screams competitor. And I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's interesting that they took another quarterback a couple of picks before that, before going to him. And now we have the Patriots on the board. Carson Vincent, see again, developmental guy for Baltimore, for the Ravens out of Alabama A&M. Good length, good sort of prerequisite size, and he's or requisite size. See if they got his arm length on here. I think it was over 34. Yep, 34 and a half. They had him as a round 6 projection. What are we, round 5? He went a round earlier then. 1 round earlier. And let's see. Who is okay? Ian Rappaport. Funny exchange here. Mike Garafalo, Ian Rappaport. Rappaport said to him in a private text message, "Want to bet the Browns trade over the Eagles and take Shedeur?" To which Garafalo said, "You're on." And the bet was he had to post that exchange if he lost. So Garafalo just tweeted that out. So the Browns quarterback room now. I forgot they got Kenny Pickett. Not that he's not that he's any great shakes. But that quarterback room in Cleveland is now Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. That's wild. Mm. So Shedeur to Cleveland, and it's weird, right? Because he's probably a lot of that time that Shedeur Sanders is sitting through those agonizing hours waiting to hear his name called, and he's probably as angry at Cleveland as he is anybody because he thought he was going to be going to them early on, and they pass on him like 5 times, and he's probably cursing their name every time they do it, and then they draft him. It's like now you got to go play for this team that you're not really. I don't know. I'm sure there's some bitterness there. Braden Swinson, edge rusher out of LSU, goes to the Patriots right before the San Francisco 49ers select Jordan James, the running back out of Oregon. Let's see. See what we got on him. New Jersey Lauren, how we doing, Lauren? Says a lot of competition, which isn't a bad thing if Sanders has an ego problem, forced to compete. Yeah, and that's I don't, we can say he's got a big ego and all that, but I don't think he's afraid to compete. But I think it could be good for him. And listen, how many times do we hear great players say, the way I got, the time I got snubbed in the draft was with, and even Brady aside, Brady's an obvious one. But there are just guys all through the years who go later than they should, and they kind of look back and say, "That's part of the reason I was great because I was so mad. I practiced and prepared, and wanted to prove everybody wrong." So Shedeur Sanders, I mean, if that doesn't light a fire, nothing will. And I'm happy for the kid. I didn't want to see I didn't want to see images of him in round 7, not getting drafted. Just no, that didn't need to happen. So happy for him. And yeah, he'll have to compete. Very busy room, but He's he's been a winner everywhere he's gone. So Cleveland's up next. Not next to pick. That's the next stop for Shedeur. And let's see what we got. I'm gonna pull up some Braden Swinson. Who is now a New England Patriot. Actually, no, I said I was pulling up Jordan James, didn't I? The Oregon running back. This play, I vaguely recall. This was a hell of a job. I mean, you talk about fighting for your life, fighting for yards. This was one of my favorite runs of the year. This guy just went to the 49ers. Jordan James, watch this run. Now, listen, he's ruled down at the one. Replay showed touchdown. So it was, I think they ended up, I don't know if they ended up overruled. The call on the field was down, and I don't think it got overruled, even though replay showed it should have been. Watch this run from Jordan James of Oregon against Wisconsin. Phenomenal touchdown run. It's a touchdown if they get the call right on replay. Stiff arm, boom. How does he not go down there? Runs through that guy. And then on the I think the replay, they said his knee was down here, but it's not. Look at him keep his balance. Look at that. At no point does his knee touch the ground. Gets back up. Gets in the end zone. And I'd have to go off memory. I think I specifically kept that. Yes, he stays up. At no point do you see his knee hitting the ground. Head down through the defender. And I can't remember what they called that. I can't remember what the final determination was. Thinking back, I think they got it wrong. I think they said it was not a touchdown. Either way, hell of a run. That was one of my favorites of the year. There's a guy, Toafili. If he gets drafted later, he probably had, and I think that run was a couple years ago. It might be my favorite run of the last couple years. Rams. Hey, what do you know? Defensive tackle. Who drafts those? They go with the Ohio State product. Ty Hamilton. Yeah. I'd like to stop talking about it, but the Jets keep blowing it. How many more picks till the Jets are up? They picked 26. 13 is up now. So 13 picks. Well, 12 is in, 13's on the clock. So, 14, depending on how you look at it. Lauren says you. You too, Lauren. Whatever me is. Compete you, yeah. So the Cowboys pick is in. Dolphins are on the clock. I want to take a look at Buffalo and see. That's right, yeah, because that's what I was going to say. Didn't they draft 2 DTs? And of course, jumped the Jets twice to take a DT both times. Buffalo making it clear they want to play some defense. Maxwell Harris in the corner in the first round. TJ Sanders, the DT in the second round. Landon Jackson, the edge in the third round. And then Deion Walker, the DT in the fourth round. That's good. Good job, Buffalo. Very good. Knew what you needed, went out and got it. Do the Jets, look, 2 picks left. Do the Jets take a quarterback? Do they take a Brady Cook? Like I hope they would. I don't know. He's that Mizzou teammate. Yeah, Lauren saying she wonders if Saleh threatened Shanahan. Got a ton of picks. They did. A lot of defense. I guess Saleh's return. Hey, I'll come back. Let's inject this defense with some youth. I'm sure the Purdy thing will work itself out. And I'm sure Saleh will do a great job as a DC. He's, he damn good defensive guy. All right, Malachi. I'm sorry, just looking at these Jets picks again. See who the latest is. Dallas grabs Jaden Blue. Now there you go. You stay in state. You get a Texas kid. You need playmakers at running back. Jaden Blue, an absolute blazer at running back. That pick makes a ton of sense. Jerry loves his Texas and Oklahoma guys close to home. Keep the fans happy with the local kids who can play. He is one of them. I like that pick for Dallas. They needed something like that. They needed a game breaker in that backfield as a runner. What I'm not remembering is his 5'9", 196. I couldn't remember if he was like a 210 guy or 195 guy. 196. Couldn't remember Jaden Blue how big he was. Did he run at the combine? I just know he's super fast. I didn't need him to run to know he's fast. Yeah, 4.38. I couldn't remember what he posted. He's just one of those guys you don't need to know if he ran, but when he does, it's like, was he sub 4.4? And he was 4.38. Dolphins take Jason Marshall, cornerback out of Florida. I am so sure I've got film on him. And I'm going to be angry if I don't, because that'd be like the fourth guy that I know I got stuff on who isn't showing up. Oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm starting to wonder if there's something going on with my computer. Seriously. Computer, I think my computer's on strike. I know for a fact because it was fairly recent that I pulled a bunch of Jason Marshall clips. But for whatever reason, not coming up. But he won't be a slot guy. He's a boundary corner. Good enough speed, ran in the 4.4s, high 4.4s. And I'm agitated because I know I watched them and I know I've got clips on him. There's probably a memory card sitting somewhere that has a couple thousand clips on it that I never downloaded to the computer or to the laptop. Okay, so now they're back in studio talking about Shedeur while the Colts pick is in. That's a weird thing, though, too, isn't it? That they were kind of, maybe I was reading it wrong, but I got the feeling Shedeur and Prime were kind of making fun of Flacco. I mean, I guess Prime, look, he's an old guy, maybe just making himself. Let's see. Uh, mhm. Someone says to me on Twitter, what about Leonard Taylor and Eric Watts in regards to the Jets tackles? Well, Watts is more of an end. Taylor's solid. I'm trying to figure out. Let's see. Mm. All right. Where are we? Who's picking? I see they're talking about Shedeur still, which I suppose will be the thing for a little while. Colts. Okay, the Colts got a good back. DJ Giddens to Indianapolis. That's a really nice backup. To Jonathan Taylor. Now, listen, if there are no DJ Giddens highlights showing up in my highlights folder, I'm going to end the stream now because I know. I mean, I knew the last guy, I knew Marshall too, but I've been grabbing Giddens clips for a few years now because I really like the guy. Let's see. All right. Here we go. Good speed, good power, good contact balance. A lot of big time runs up the middle. Boom, bounces off the tackler, spins, and carries another defender into the end zone with him against West Virginia. That's that's one play that gives you a pretty good idea of what DJ Giddens brings. Like I said, that's a really nice addition for that Indianapolis Colts team. Cowboys are on the clock again, having just taken a running back. Dallas is up one more time. And let's see. DJ Giddens, I think this is a throw that's off target, and he manages to catch it. Let's pop this back to the start. Out of the backfield, find some space. Yeah, ball's a little bit behind him. He's able to reach back while he's got his back turned and pull that ball in. Kind of double catches it a little bit, but it wasn't a great throw. But he's got good hands. So good player there. Really good player. And Dallas gets a nice linebacker in Shamar James, another Florida product. Bunch of Gators going. Jason Marshall went a couple of picks ago. We've seen the tackle go. Cam Jackson. So Florida players flying off the board. Shamar James, the latest. Let's see, Lauren in the chat. One of the things we forget about in the draft, it's only 221, 257 this year. But I get what you're saying, though, Lauren. Odds of getting selected for any team is tiny. Obviously, the draft isn't perfect. Good players end up UDFA, but still, yeah. I said it earlier, Lauren, that I always hear people criticize folks for analyzing the draft, before these guys have played. How are you going to grade a draft? Like I generally grade the approach. Like I don't give a grade on how the player has performed. But you know what? If you go out and the example I always give, I know that it would never happen, but it just drives home my point. It's hyperbolic, yes. But if you drafted 7 punters, I wouldn't need to wait and see. I would know like that wasn't a great idea. And that's kind of how I feel with this. Like if they don't add a DT in arguably the deepest DT class ever, and you need DTs, I'm going to criticize that. And I might be wrong, and that's fine. We'll be wrong. But watching this game and being a fan of this game and talking about this game is a hobby for some people. Some people love watching movies and they criticize the way a movie is made. They criticize, oh, why did they end it that way? Oh, all those years watching The Sopranos, it was so stupid how it ended. Do you tell that person, oh, shut up and don't criticize it. It is what it is. No, you comment on whether or not you enjoy the thing you like watching. I like watching football and the Jets and the draft. And if I go into it thinking they need some DTs and this one might have more than any in history, and we're sitting here this late and they still haven't taken one and they've passed on some really good ones, I'm not ripping my hair out. I'm not saying fire the GM. I'm just sitting here going, you know what? I'm not so sure about this approach. But maybe it turns out brilliant. Maybe they have the number 1 defense in the NFL this year. Maybe a couple of their DTs are, runners up for defensive player of the year. That could happen. Anything's possible. I just don't think it will. Jalen Rivers, not Florida, but Miami, offensive lineman. Some people say tackle, some people say guard. He goes to the Bengals, so they build their trenches up a little bit. And we are now, how many picks away from the Jets? We can't be too many picks away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Inside of 10 picks. Inside of 10 picks. Yeah, and it's a good point, Lauren. And listen, I defended McCagnon. I will defend most GMs for a few years because I feel like that's how long you need to see how players pan out. Again, like I said, I'll criticize approach, but I see people all the time. Second a guy gets drafted, second guy drops a pass. Oh, he's a bust. He sucks. Da, da, da. Like, give it some time. And I defended McCagnon a lot. Interesting thing, though, Lauren, if you stop and think about it, it now turns out Mike McCagnon drafted a franchise quarterback. Sam Darnold just got a 3-year, $100 million contract. And Mike McCagnon had a draft class that produced not great players, but some really good, like Blake Cashman was a really good linebacker. Couldn't stay healthy with the Jets. He's been very good since moving on. Chuma Doga hasn't been great, but he's been a backup. He's been a spot starter. But a lot of people after a year or two with the Jets, a lot of people said that guy was going to be out of the league. Um, who else? There was the tight end who actually might be out of the league now. The blocking tight end, I believe, out of West Virginia. His name's escaping me. Um, but he started for a couple years in Tennessee, I believe. Um, but yeah, McCagnon had a couple of classes where you look back now and it's like, oh, there's some starters in there. Or there's some long-term vets now who have been in the league for 5, 6 years who we all wrote off as not being NFL worthy. Rich says I evaluate GMs on how they hit on draft picks and manage the cap. Yeah, and that's fair enough, Rich. But I think everyone has a different idea of what a good draft is. I've literally had people tell me you should find 5 starters in every draft. That's about the most unrealistic thing you'll ever hear in your life. If you can get 1 or 2 starters and 1 or 2 backups in a class, that's a solid class. It's not great, but it's solid. GMs hit on roughly 50% of their picks, even the best GMs hit on roughly 50%. And fans, when they don't like a GM, they criticize every miss as if it was a top 10 pick. I heard people losing their minds when Izzy Abanikanda, actually, Izzy ended up making the roster, but when it looked like he might not make the roster last year, and I'm like, he's a 5th round pick. He's a 5th rounder. He's got like a 20% chance of making it. But that's what people do if they dislike a GM enough, then every pick becomes the most important pick in the world and the biggest miss ever. Instead of saying, "Oh, you know what? Well, he hit on 5 guys one year and 2 guys another year and 1 guy the next year and 3 guys, and you average it all out and he's about average." Um, but that's not the world we live in. Like sanity, rationality, context, none of those things matter anymore. Giants get another one of my favorites there, Marcus Bowe, the Purdue guard, played tackle at Purdue, moved into guard at in Mobile. A lot of people projected him there, and that's how he's been announced. Lawrence said Mac was there a long time though. Sam's interesting, but still needs to prove he's a franchise QB. How he will do with the team is not ideal. In the end, it comes down to how successful the team is. Yep, it does. Rich says he thought Joe D did a decent job. I think he did too. Um, I think his biggest mistake was hiring Saleh, and then his next biggest mistake was not firing Saleh. Plain and simple. So, like I said, Marcus Bowe going to the Giants. I'm sure I've got plenty on him because, like I said, he was a favorite of mine. Yeah, got a lot of them. Pass pro, hits target on the move. This is something I thought he was good at. We'll kick this back, rewind this one. He's the right tackle here. Gets outside. Boom, that's him, 63 on the screen. Again, moves well. Not the strongest guy, but fundamentally sound. And moving him to guard, I think the Giants got a really good player. That's a nice job by them. And the hits, the misses, the busts, all that stuff. Hang on, let me click a light on. The darkness is on its way. There we go. Let there be light once more. Dolphins, their pick is in. Chiefs are on the clock. 5. Lawrence says Douglas didn't want. I know. I think the thing with Douglas, I think he was too friendly with Saleh. I think they were like best buddies, and he viewed him as a guy he wouldn't fire, and he didn't, and that cost him his job. I think if he'd fired Saleh this past offseason, or even the one before, I think they should have fired him when with the Beningo story, when he's texting team info back and forth with Joe Beningo of all people. I would have fired him at that point, but they didn't. All water under the bridge. Now, look, you brought in Aaron Glenn. Love him so far. Muji hasn't really done, really can't say. Um, but Dante Trader, another Maryland player. We've seen a couple Maryland players go now. Linebacker, all defensive players. Dante Trader goes to the Dolphins with the Chiefs on the clock. Sorry, the Chiefs with their pick being in, Bucks on the clock. We're only a few picks away now, folks, from the Jets. So with the Jets being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks away, we go over to the best remaining prospects. Undrafted. Let's see what we got. JJ McGee, still the best DT on the board. Did the Jets make a trade? Do you mean right now? Are they on the clock or something? They made a trade earlier. My info, they moved up. That's how they got more. I see Kansas City's made a trade here. So if that's what you're talking about in terms of did they make one earlier? Yes. Did they make one just now? Not that I'm seeing. So again, DTs, JJ Piggy is still out there. Warren Brinson, who I prefer Piggy. Wow. Not a lot of DTs in the top 20 anymore. Um, oh, I see where you, hang on. No, that's not the Jets. I messed that up. Thought I missed a pick there. A Jets pick. But did not. Yeah, my info. I assume that's what you're thinking of because they should have had another pick in this round. But they did not. They moved up into the fourth to take Malachi Moore, leaving them with picks 162 and 186 before they wrap it up and call it a draft. I'll tell you what, man. We will. No way. Okay, that's old. And I don't even know if it's real. Yeah, I'm not even gonna. See, there you go. Shiloh and Shedeur dancing at his draft party after he got taken. Oh, hold up. I want to rewind it to the. I want to watch this. I want to see the kids celebrate. Let's see. Yeah, good for him, man. Let's see. I think is that did that Chiefs pick get made? Oh, they traded. Okay. Oh, no, okay. The Chiefs took Bassa, the Oregon linebacker, and then SMU edge rusher Elijah Roberts goes to the Bucks. More defense for Todd Bowles. You're now 5 picks away from the Jets' penultimate pick. 1, 2, 3. Yep, 5 picks away. And teams are still trading, folks. Teams are still making deals. Lawrence says, I give him kudos for telling Rodgers to F off. The thing I like to see is a closely coupled organization. This isn't just Glenn or Moogie. Also love that the crap leaked all looked like smoke screens. Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind that they let go of Rodgers. They kind of had to, unless he was going to take an enormous like if Rodgers was going to be willing to take an enormous pay cut, which maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. It almost what the reason it wouldn't matter is because of the type of offense the Jets are hoping to run. That's really what they should have just said to Rodgers. It's like, look, man, we're going to install an offense where the quarterback is going to run a ton, and you can't do that, so you don't fit. So thank you for everything. The whole flying him out and just whatever. It to me, not the most professional thing. You could even make the phone call and let Rogers complain about the call if he wants, but tell him, "Hey, man, we understand the pro thing to do is meet face to face. We're not flying you in from California to have you walk in the door and we say bye. Like, we're not going to do that to you. That might upset you, but too bad." And then that's defensible, I think, in the media, and to the fans who are hoping you'll conduct yourself professionally and say, "Listen, we were not going to fly that man 3,000 miles out to have a 5-minute meeting and cut him. That would have been disrespectful to him." Um, to fly him out and cut him, again, not the way I would have gone, but whatever. It's over. It's over. He's gone. Could they have done it differently? Yes. Is it going to matter at the end of the day? No. I wonder if Rodgers is going to either sign with Pittsburgh, which would mean he play the Jets this year, or if he's going to just sit out and wait for a starter to get hurt and sit back and think, all right, if a contender loses their guy, that's where I'm going. Because that could be the best situation for him. Because even in Pittsburgh, they don't have the best situation offensively. You're always bound to see a couple quarterbacks go down at some point. I was going to say a team, but I don't want to get accused of jinxing, as if jinxes are real, of jinxing players or teams. Speaking of the Chargers, they are on the clock. Their pick is in. So no, Green Bay is on the clock. The Chargers pick is in. 4 more picks until the Jets are up. I don't think Pittsburgh. It doesn't. It doesn't. You're not wrong about that, Lauren. But the only public statement I heard from the owner was that, after meeting with Rodgers, he said, "I think it's trending that way." He said, "I think we're heading towards him signing." Doesn't mean he will. Rodgers, as they say, marches to the beat of his own drum. So maybe he won't. But the owner seems to be at least under the impression that there's a good chance it'll happen. More offense in San Diego. They just want to score all the points. Auburn wide receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith. Man, let's see if we have him. Thought I had him. I didn't want to say I did because I've been wrong a few times. 6'1", thought he had good feet. Make plays after the catch. See the good balance. Almost gets taken down. Keeps his feet. Stays on the move. Picks up a couple more yards. Let's see. Here he is on a sluggo, slant and go. Against, I can't tell who that's against. Bottom of your screen, slant, bang, over the top. Great catch, great one-handed catch. Nice. Nice job. But then again, who will be their QB? Well, that's the question, Lauren. That's why I think they're in trouble if Rodgers says no and they didn't take Shedeur. That's why I thought Shedeur was his most sensible location, because he would get to start there, or he would have a good chance to start. And they passed on him, and that's when I was blown away. And I'm trying to decide here. Okay. With round 6, I do believe that staring at this computer screen for like 15 hours over the past couple days, catching up with me. Eyes, headache. We may log it off after the Jets' final pick. We'll see. We'll see how we're doing. Ooh, Colin Oliver. Like him a lot. Green Bay. Watched him for a few years, and he was and I've said it a few times about him. Every time I watch Oklahoma State, the guy makes plays. Like, he doesn't have the, like, eye-popping athletic profile that's gonna, blow your mind and have him climb draft boards. But every time I watch the dude, he just made plays. Again, he's another one. I am a million percent sure I've got some Colin Oliver on here. I'll tell you what, you got to be kidding me. I have one play. I have one Colin Oliver play. I'm telling you, there's a disc somewhere with a million plays on it, because I had a ton of Colin Oliver, and this, I believe, is him. Yeah, that's him getting the pressure and hit that leads to the interception, coming off the edge there. Number 30 slips the tackle, gets around him, gets the hit. I must have, because let me see, he is spelling is Collin. I refuse to accept this, folks. I'm going to search for more Colin Oliver. There's no way in the world. Well, I guess there is a way, and that way would be. Oh, wait, hang on. Let's see, I don't know why that happened. Okay, here we go. All right, here's some more Colin. Okay, I was in the wrong folder. Knew I had a bunch of him. Blindside, Colin Oliver. Top of the defense up here. Slips inside, closes, wraps up. Just a playmaker, man. Just a playmaker. Just couldn't watch a game and that he played in and come away without seeing him do something impactful. So Green Bay, I always like that. Sometimes I think the evaluation stuff, what is it, paralysis by analysis, right? I think it goes a little over the top to where every single tiny little thing is analyzed, and you get away from the fact that, like, what about the fact that every time he plays, he does something big? I talked earlier about how J.J. Watt didn't have the greatest draft um, scouting report, at least in some major publications. And he was a guy, I still remember it. When he was in college, I had just gotten to Korea. I was stationed out there for the first time, and all you had available to you was that was like not hardly anybody even owned a computer back then, a PC. But whatever was on television for college, for sports during football season, you got what you got. And I actually remember getting lucky. The Jets were on the first week. Jets played the Chiefs, probably lost, but it was Jets Chiefs a million years ago, back in the 90s. Yeah, Jesus, late 90s. And Wisconsin, for whatever reason, whoever decided which games were on, that dude must have been a Wisconsin fan, because I must have seen Wisconsin 5 weeks in a row, and every single week, I'm like, oh, there's that guy Watt again. Oh, didn't that guy have a forced fumble and a strip sack the other day? Oh, look, now he's got a fumble recovery and a return. Oh, look, he's got 2 sacks today. Every single week, the guy made plays, and I was like, this guy's gonna be a first round pick. He's every single week he's beating the hell out of somebody. And then you see scouting reports of like, well, he doesn't do this well and he doesn't do that well. I'm like, does he play football well and always win out and always make a play? Jets are on the clock, folks. Enough about anything else. Who cares? Uh, let's see. JJ Piggy, I'm hoping. Let's see who else is out there. Tight end, quarterback. Pick is in. Jets are not trading down. Got to be DT here. It's got to be. All right, are we live here? We're live. Okay, so this is where the networks, I think, start to fall behind, because they're still saying pick is in for the Eagles, and on NFL.com the pick is up, like it's Smell Munden, the Georgia linebacker, because Howie Roseman cannot not draft a Georgia player, which I get. It's worked out pretty well for him. Kicker. What could be kicker here, by the way? Let's not forget that. Kicker, DT, quarterback. If you're gonna go kicker, you do that next round. What are we in? I'm getting deluded. No, we're in the 5th round. I was thinking we were in the 6th round. You're not taking a kicker here. I think I might cheat and hop over to Twitter because I'm getting aggravated. The NFL Network. Okay, here we go. No Twitter. Jets pick is in. Let's see best available on NFL.com. Isaiah Bond, Dominic Lovett, receivers. You're not taking another receiver. JJ Pagee is the best player on their board. On the NFL.com board. Let it be Pagee. Take one of my guys. Right? I mean, I could say Membu was one of my guys. But I'm talking like the digging deep, day 3. Oh, there you go. Francisco Mauigoa. Okay. I did say earlier maybe they take a linebacker at some point. Francisco Mauigoa. I actually, thinking back, there's a thread on JetNation.com in the draft forums from a few years ago, in which I said, hey guys, I don't know if you're watching a lot of Washington State, but they got some ball players. And they got a quarterback named Cam Ward and a linebacker named Francisco Mauigoa and a linebacker named Dan Henley. And I believe I listed who's the corner who got the pick at the Senior Bowl last year. His name escapes me right now. But Washington State had a lot of players. Again, playmakers. Mauigoa was a guy who regularly made plays. So this is a guy I've been a fan of for a little while. I know I've got highlights on him. So do I like the player? Yes. Would I prefer to DT? Also, yes. Let's give you some Francisco Mauigoa. Let's mute this. No disrespect, NFL Network guys. Transferred to Miami, by the way. This will be Washington State, I believe, because this is versus Cal. Have you wore 51 there? Yeah, there he is, 51. From that linebacker spot, you see him just right through the blockers. They're trying to zone block and kick the linebackers out of there. Mauigoa gets right through, gets the TFL. Let's see again. See another one. Quick enough to get up the middle here. Again, this Cal again, yeah. That was one of their early games that year. It was one of their first ones I watched, I believe. And we'll see if we can find one more. That's Colorado State. Where is I think this is one where he runs through the running back. It's not a sack, it's a pressure, but he blows up the running back. Watch the back try to block him here. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that one. Might tweet that one out now, actually. Give some folks a look. Let's see. And we'll say he blows up the running back here. All right. Mm. Let's see what they're saying about. Are they talking about Maui Goa now?
Just find his way in the throwing lanes, gets his hands on the football and coverage. Someone in space CD, you see guys who have come to balance, does a really good job of that coming to balance and getting guys on just making some plays back.
Yeah, they're showing him some love there. Actually, you know what? Let's take that out, and we'll throw in a few Maui Goa clips. All right. Steelers are on the board, or on the clock, rather. Let's close this out. There we go. Fractured wrist torn meniscus. I didn't realize Rich Sweeney just tweeted out the injury list for Arian Smith. Let's see. Fractured wrist, torn meniscus, broken fibula, high ankle sprain. All right. That's that is what it is. As Brian Baldinger used to say all the time. I used to love Baldy, listening to him in when I lived near Philly for a few years. Lived in Bensalem, PA, about I don't know, half hour or so from Philly. And they'd have Baldy on all the time, of course. He's huge in Philly. And man, anytime you mention a player with injuries, he's like, hurt guys stay hurt, fat guys stay fat. As a fat guy, I couldn't disagree with that. And now that I'm getting old, I'm a hurt guy. Like right now, my hip and my knee killing me. Did nothing to them. Nothing. Totally minding my business, living my life. Last few weeks, I'm limping around like I need like a hip surgery or something. No idea what happened. Talking Philly pick. It might be now, but I'm sure they showed, unless someone else who went to Washington State, I'm sure they just showed a Washington State defender running back a pick that looked like Maui Goa to me. But either way, doesn't matter. What's done is done. Maui Goa is a Jet. Let's see what NFL.com said about Francisco Maui Goa. 6'2", 233, bottom of the roster or practice squad. Productive starter, throwback banger, limited athletically, I'd agree. Smart, though. That's me saying that. Proactive downhill. Yeah, see, has a nose for the football and makes plays. Having just talked about it, was in the middle of talking about it, about not overthinking it, just take guys who make plays. And that's what Maui Goa was with Washington State. Not as much in Miami. Still made plays with Miami, but Washington State was where he really popped to me. Let's see here. All right, so it's funny. He's not a guy I've talked about in a while. again, prospect fatigue, right? When you're on year 3, year 4 of watching a guy, it's like, all right, I know him, watched them, talked about him. Let's kind of move on to new guys. But yeah, glad to see them take a guy like that. Let's see. Okay. Antoine Staley of the Daily News, not happy with the Miami Heat score. I don't know what it is because not a basketball guy. All right, so lots of praise for the Malachi Moore pick, and rightfully so. To me, I said a few weeks ago, there's a few guys, a few schools where if I got to pick a player blind, like anyone who played for Nick Saban, okay, let's give that guy a shot. Nick Saban thought he could play, let's bring him in, see if he can play. Um, if you're a lineman at a Big Ten school, um, just for so many years, the bad weather, the physical brand of football they play there, more offense for the Los Angeles Chargers. This is getting ridiculous. They take Oronde Gadsden the second. Said earlier, would have been nice to have him and Jason Taylor, but that's a little bit bonkers. Give me 1 second. All right, so the last 10 picks: Jeffrey Basso, Elijah Roberts, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Colin Oliver, Marquis Siegel, Smale Munden, Francisco Mauigoa, Mitchell Evans, Yaya Black, and Oronde Gadsden. I think the Yaya Black thing, oh yeah, he seems like a Steeler, but I mean, he does seem like a Steeler, but the colors, black and yellow, right? Seems like a good fit. Okay, that's that. Yeah, funny, isn't it, Lauren? Lauren saying she once saw a draft evaluator for running back that said he wasn't fast and didn't pass block and wasn't able to read holes quickly. That was Gale Sayers. I think he had a pretty solid career. I think he did all right for himself. He had a game. I remember as a kid watching a documentary on Gale Sayers. I believe it was him. Uh, um, saying that he played in a game where the conditions were so poor, like nobody could keep their feet. Everybody was falling over except for him. And he had like 5 touchdowns that day, and a few of them as a return guy. Because once he got the ball in his hands, he was the only one who could stay. He was the only one who could stay upright. Guys were just falling over in the mud and the slop. And Sayers had a monster day. Where are we at now? Round 5, pick 167. Tennessee Titans. Their pick is in. I still can't. I should shut up about the Jets not taking a DT by now, but it's pretty annoying. And Connie Carberg, the former Jets' first female scout, tweeting out, Maui goes a solid blitzer, but still not one defensive tackle in a draft class that's loaded with them. Preach, Connie. Preach. Because it's the Jets, isn't it? Really. Okay. So let's see here. Can't believe there are 2 more. Neither can I. My like I said, I don't know if it's all the light, or like I said, the fact that I've been staring at screen. Let me dim my screen a little bit if I can figure out how. I'm getting like what is that? There we go. Let's dim this. That didn't help at all. Yeah, Jets have 1 pick left, Lauren. Hey, Drew Kendall goes to Philly. Good for him. Jason Kendall, not Jason Kendall, Pete Kendall. Jason Kendall's catcher for the Pirates. Pete Kendall, former center guard for the Jets. His kid Drew goes to Philly. Where else are you going to get coached up better than Philly to play the offensive line? Where they just paid Cam Jurgens a boatload of money, and good for him. He was one of my guys back in the day. Yeah, his dad was a first rounder though. Much better prospect, but I liked Kendall. There was a lot of publications had him as a undrafted guy, and I did an article for JetNation sort of talking about potential day 3 undrafted players who would do well, and I think I said, I think Kendall will get drafted, but I could be wrong, and a lot of people say I am. But he goes. Good for him. Allowed 1 sack on 350 pass block reps per PFF, per NFL Network, or via PFF. Via. Via. I didn't realize the Steelers had so few picks. Oh, 4 or 5 picks. 4 picks for Pittsburgh so far. You need a red filter program on the system. The blue light is harsh. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. But man, I may tap out, folks. I may tap out after the Jets' final pick, just because this light's getting to me. That's the thing. It's not there's no natural light in here because it's England and it's late. What time? It's 8:20. I have no idea. I haven't looked at the clock in hours. 8:20? It's 5, so we're 3 hours and 20 minutes. Oh yeah, I can see that right there, can't I? Well, right there. 3 hours 23 minutes. Zoff Frazier goes to the Bears. Big corner out of UTSA. Made me think of what's his name? Tariq Woolen, but probably because they were both UTSA guys, both really tall. Tariq Woolen probably a little bit smoother, but both good players. Frazier's not as good as Woolen, and like I said, it could be watching a tall corner in that uniform that made me think of him, just as Tonka Hemingway, which Zach Rosenblatt said earlier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I like Tonka Hemingway, but I first became aware of him because I saw that name and I was like, that's the best name in college football. You're named after a Tonka truck and one of the greatest writers of all time. Like, that's phenomenal. Tonka Hemingway. And then I started watching. I'm like, oh, turns out he's good too. Doesn't just have the best name in the world, but he's a good football player. So congrats to Tonka Hemingway. Let's see. Jags GM looks like he's 17-year-old Madden player. He might be nowadays because we now know that at least 2 teams, the Jets and Ravens, do use Madden ratings as part of their personnel decision-making process. The Jets acknowledged it publicly, and the Ravens acknowledged it publicly, which I was shocked that the Ravens let that be known. But they do. Jets and Ravens, if the Ravens are doing it and they admitted they're doing it, I'm sure there's other teams doing it now. But yeah, DaCosta said in an interview, he's like, we use a lot of stuff, man. We use Madden. We look at the player ratings in Madden. I was like, wow. Here I was clowning the Jets for it because I'm like, what team is stupid enough to do that? And then one of the best run organizations in football is like, we do it. Surprising. I still wonder if he was just like clowning. Like, let me just say something to see how stupid people think I am. Just make fun of the Jets or make it so the Jets don't look so bad. Schedule release May 14th. I don't get excited about that. It's like, all right, the opener. I'll look at the opener because that's exciting. And then I'll look at the last 4 or 5 games of this. I don't know why. Those games never matter. But I guess I always think to myself, in the event the Jets are somewhat competent for most of the season, those final 4 or 5 weeks will be important, and you wanna see, is there any gauntlets in there? Is there any stretch of which, yes, things can change, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't, but if things don't change, if things stay mostly the same, and you look at it and know you got a bunch of good players in a row. Ian Rappaport, and I'm almost certain he will not be talking about Shedeur Sanders. Let's see what Rap Sheet's got. Okay, so they're talking about potential trade of veteran players for picks at this point in the draft, which you do sometimes see. Mentions Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert because their names have been floating around. Jalen Ramsey, that's not going well there. Jair Alexander. I mean, you wouldn't be trading him at this point, right? You're not moving Jair Alexander for a 6. That's insanity. All right. Lauren, I can see him using predictive AI. That I've had that conversation with a couple of people, Lauren. With the way AI is catching on, how far away are we from NFL teams employing like 1 or 2 people in the front office and just letting AI do the rest? I mean, it's jobs are going to be evaporating from everywhere. I don't even want to talk about that. But yeah, as far as seriously doubt the Ravens use Madden ratings. Well, again, that's what he said. They were talking at, I believe it was at the combine, and sometimes they get these executives on Radio Row or whatever. And Google it. Google Eric DaCosta Ravens Madden ratings, and you'll see his quote. I forget what the exact quote was, but I was blown away. I hope I misinterpreted it. Let's see. The Lions pick is in. It's not even like the Jets have a player that they could move for a pick because, like I said, the guys with trade value are valued at more than a 6 or 7. Again, unless you have a team that says we'll take Michael Clemens, which would be weird. Um, I think the Jets front office is the only one I haven't seen live. Maybe they've shown it and I just wasn't looking at the screen at that time. I don't know how many times they're going to show me Packers fans holding up their jerseys as if we don't know what's on it or where they are. Let me take a look here. Oh. There we go. Back to the draft tracker. Oh, thanks for that, Lauren. Like I said, I've been spending the whole time looking at the tracker so I can talk about the picks on here that I realized it was a possibility. I missed it, but I just by chance caught a bunch of draft rooms, just not the Jets. So we are at the end of round 5, round 6, just around the corner, where the Jets will pick 10th. So we're not that far off from the Jets' final pick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 picks. Something like that. And let's see. Let's check on some Zal Frazier. See what you guys think of him. Like I said, bigger guy. I'm sure I've got some of him. Or is it Zay or I've heard it pronounced Zay and Za. And no, off there. Nothing. Zach Frazier, Makai Frazier. Well, I'm certainly no truck, right? What do they stump the truck? Wild Wave. How we doing, man? Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you popping over to see what we got going on. Other than the Jets not drafting any defensive tackles, which I still, don't get. Let's. I mean, I think Piggy might still be there, so maybe you get one with that final pick. But it felt like it should have been a draft with either two DTs or two tight ends, and that obviously didn't happen. I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right, Wild Wave. Little headache. I think I was saying a minute ago. I think the 5, 6, however many hours a day of the light and all that stuff. Head's starting to pound, but we got a couple rounds to go. JJ Piggy, currently the third rated player. Isaiah Bond, some legal trouble there. So I don't know if he'll get drafted. Nick Nash, older receiver, but big, tall guy. I liked his film a lot. Jalen Reed, I thought he would have been gone by now. Still some solid players. Dorian Strong, the corner out of VT, thought he would have gone. Kobe King, I thought he went, but looked like Quinn Ewers at this point. RJ Mickens, which unlikely now. The Jets took a safety. That's a bit of a shame. I would have liked to see RJ Mickens hear his name called as a Jet, but I wonder honestly if that would have been like, can Aaron Glenn really coach him as hard as he wants to if it's a kid he's known his whole life, played with his dad in college, played with his dad in the pros, loved them. Loved Ray Mickens, loved Aaron Glenn. Clemens can play inside. I know it's something you don't want to hear, but I understand. I actually said that earlier, Wild Wave, talking about Clemens, because someone asked why he hasn't been cut yet. And I went through why, there's no rush, 90-man roster and all that. And then I said, I know they flirted with the idea of him there a couple years ago, but then they moved him back outside. But I think if you ask him to do less, like just be disruptive from the middle, and not play the edge where he can constantly crash down inside on play fakes and get beat, he might be a decent player at DT. And that's, I raised that exact point a couple of hours ago in discussing him. And let's see where we are now. Oh, there you go. Miles Frazier to Detroit. Last year they got my guy Christian Mahogany, and now they got Miles Frazier. That is two late round monsters on the interior. Kudos to the Lions. That's a great job. Man, Christian Mahogany and Miles Frazier. I would have gladly taken those guys on my team, especially when you can get them this late and you can develop them. You don't have to play them right away. Mahogany didn't play last year until very late in the season, and he balled out. He played really well in the few games that he played. And the longer this goes on, the more certain I am I will bail after the Jets' final pick, because this headache's not getting any better. Let me tell you. If I thought they would, I don't know. We'll see. Bills are on the clock again. Do they go defense again? Do they take JJ Piggy? Do they get 3 DTs while the Jets have none? Let's see. Buffalo, what is this? This is pick number 173. They got to go offense at some point, right? They've taken nothing but defensive players up to now, unless I missed something. Let's double check Buffalo. It's possible that I missed a pick earlier since looking at them last. But last time I looked, it was all defense. Yeah. Corner, DT, edge, DT, corner. Oh, there you go. Tight end, Jackson Hawes, who on offense is about the closest thing to a defensive player in this class. Absolute mauler of a blocker. Good class for Buffalo, man. Tip of the cap to the Bills. They've done a really nice job. Landon Jackson, Deion Walker. Nice job. And again, if you haven't watched Jackson Hawes, Georgia Tech, give him a look. It'll put on a clinic as a blocker. Do the Bills know our strategy? I don't think the Jets have a strategy. Why does ownership do this? By this, what do you mean, Wild Wave? I mean, the owner, they do a lot of things. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Glenn, did you see the Warren Sharp tweet with Cleveland's war room after the Sanders took? Andrew Berry looked like he was forced to make that pick. I didn't see it. That would be weird to force a guy to take another quarterback to give him 5 in his room. Yeah, I didn't see it though, honestly. I do apologize if you're getting my barking dog on the audio right now. She's in the other room losing her mind about something. I don't know. Probably getting fed. Probably saw somebody grabbing a can of food and she went crazy. But yeah, Wild Wave. Let's see. What did you mean specifically about why does ownership do this? What this are we talking about? What is with these enormous stupid hats? What who was like, look at this great design, and then somebody else was like, oh, that's awesome. Oh my god. What's the world coming to? 10-foot wide baseball caps. I'm an old grumpy person, I know. Cardinals go Denzel Burke, Ohio State. And this is it could be my imagination, but it feels like the last couple rounds have been a lot of defense. A lot. Oh, that's weird. Marcus Embo or Marcus Bow, whatever, is now listed as tackle. I'm sure it said guard earlier. I'm sure it did. Oh, is that what you meant, Wild Wave? Why did they force the owner? I don't know, man. Why did they force the GM? I have no idea. Okay, yeah, I don't know, Wild Wave. I didn't see the clip, so I can't say. But sometimes maybe ownership felt like they were taking heat because so many people thought that guy would be the pick. Sometimes a phone call from the right person. Think back a few years. Remember when Mike Mayock called the Vikings and was like, "Come on, man, draft this kid from Germany, the wide receiver." Ba 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 ba. Next thing they draft him because an NFL Network commentator called their draft room and said, "Come on, this would be a cool story if you draft a kid from Germany," and they took him. So, would it be all that crazy to think that somebody in a league office, especially look, if you're in the league office and you've got like Rich Eisen, Mel Kiper, Daniel Jeremiah, everybody say this is disgusting, this is horrible. You're almost like, would someone just draft this guy so everybody would stop telling us what a horrible league we are? And maybe at that point you just pick up the phone and say, look, man, do us a solid here. Burn a 6th rounder, 5th rounder, whatever, on a guy that might play well, a guy who might be your quarterback of the future. It's not like you're asking him to draft a guy you can't play. I'm not saying it's right to do. let teams run themselves. But if you're asking why it happens, I could see the league being like, if this guy goes undrafted, we're going to get absolutely killed. Somebody please pick him. So maybe that's it. And look, maybe Barry's having a bad day. Shh. Sorry about that. Maybe, maybe he did want Shedeur, but, stubbed his toe on the way to the podium. Who knows? Media can kick rocks. Well, I agree with that. They, in most cases, in many cases. Trying to get this dog situated here. Oh, Jets trade up. We got a Jets trade up. Which means, do they not have any sixes? Let's go to the NFL Network. They might tell us what the deal was. Likely the Jets' final pick. They have traded up to the bottom of round 5. And let's see. Guess listen, they gotta get that office situated. The desks are in weird places. Guys are just walking around stubbing their toes on everything. It's a disaster. All right, Jets. What do we think, folks? DT, kicker, quarterback. Let's see what we got. See, NFL Network is saying the pick is in, but they're like for Seattle. Okay, they're only one pick behind. But since they're behind, I will once again go to the Twitter machine and see if there's a spoiler out there. There isn't, which is fine. And let's see here. Yeah, Jets trade round 5, pick 176. What are we thinking? Who did they jump? Who? All right. It's an edge rusher. Tyler Barron, 6'5", 258, bigger guy. Really thought they would have to go get one. Projected 5th rounder by the folks at NFL.com. 5th-year senior with size and athleticism for consideration as an edge defender or an odd or even fronts. Let's see if we have anything on him. And it's... Let's see if we got a Tyler Barron. We do, in fact. Wow. Have quite a bit of Tyler Barron. No. Okay. This is wild. I remember Tyler Barron. He was a Tennessee kid, right? Yes. This dude, this is a funny story. I can't believe he's a Jet. I actually thought about him earlier in the year. Couldn't remember his name. And I was like, who is that guy? Okay. We'll show you a couple of plays first. And then I gotta fire off a funny tweet about him. So here he's just with a sack against Pitt from the end zone camera. Sorry, I didn't even catch that. Let's blow that up for me. Yeah, I remember that actual play, and that was a couple years ago, I think. Lined up, 4-point stance on the end there. Splits the gap. The tackle just completely whiffs on him. Um, where else? That's another one versus Pitt. A stunt inside for a run stuff against LSU. Again, blow it up, bring it back. At right end, stunt that I mean, that's a nice job right there. So, nice player. I like I said, it might be a year since they did trade up Lawrence. So as of now, they have no picks left. They could make a trade, but barring a trade, that was their final pick. Um, that's funny about Tyler Barron. So let me see. So here's the Tyler Barron thing. That's funny. I'm sure I saw him do this 3 times, but I only have 2 saved. So I'm going to put them on here. There were at least 3 times where he literally there was a little bit of confusion and it looked like they needed the clock stopped in order to to get their defense situated. He just grabbed his leg and fell down on the field. And it was done in such a way that when I saw him do it and then it was like several games later, I was like, I saw a guy do that a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna go check the highlights and see if it was same guy. And then I'm sure I saw him do it again. So definitely twice. The video photographic evidence. Um, and possibly a third time. And I don't hate the pick. I'm just having a little fun. Let's see. There we go with that. Oh, wait. Hang on. There we go. So, yeah, dude just collapses. I just tweeted them out. Um, you see Tennessee's like they have an extra one guy starts to run off the field so he doesn't get flagged for too many on the field and Tyler Barron just collapses to the ground. And then another play where LSU has a man in motion. And listen, it could be legit. It could be that he cramps up. Some people do that. Some people don't have a bad habit of not hydrating, and they cramp up. But these are just funny coincidences that they happen right at the start of a play that would have stopped the clock. So give that a look, Tyler Barron. So the Jets, what did the Jets give up? A 2025 fifth and a 2026 sixth in exchange for a 2025 sixth and a 2026 fifth with the Ravens. So the Jets trade a 5 and a 6 for a 6 and a 5. Okay, good enough. Good to know. Apparently, they really like Tyler Barron and wanted to be able to get him. Um, but yeah, that's like I said. I just a few weeks ago, I couldn't remember who it was, and I was like, "Who was that dude that like 3 different times just randomly fell to the ground in the middle of right as a play was about to start?" And then as I pull up his highlights just now, I see the description on the play, and I was like, "This is the guy." Yeah. So there you have it. Jets go defense. Deepest DT class in the history of the world. Jets take none. Very deep tight end class. Jets take none. Very deep running back class. Didn't expect them to take any. That's not a big deal. Still some good quarterbacks on the board. Jets didn't take any and unlikely to do so. I believe that will actually let's before we go, let's show you these Tyler Barron plays that I'm talking about. Even though they're tweeted out now, we'll throw them on here for you. Watch as the defender starts realizing he's an extra guy and starts running off, and Tyler Barron just collapses, grabs his calf. I think he did it each time he did that too. That was his thing, to fall and grab his calf or his ankle mid-play. I mean, he doesn't land. He's literally just standing. He's sliding. He's like slide, fall. And again, listen, if they were legitimate injuries, I apologize. We're having a little fun. Let's see. Here's another one. Here's the other one for you. And then I gotta sign out. I gotta leave for the day. Sack, stunts inside. Here we go, versus Pitt. This is another one. Look at that one. He's just standing there. He doesn't even move. Literally standing. I guess maybe he does take one step inside. No, he's just standing there. And did the same thing. And listen, maybe he's got a bad right ankle. And if so, my apologies to Tyler Barron and his right ankle. But yeah, it was just funny. I remembered it because I saw both clips only a few days apart. And I was like, I'm sure I saw a guy do the same exact thing the other day. And I was like, could it be the same guy? And it was. It was the same flopper linebacker. But again, maybe he was hurt. Good player, though. And that's why I've got so many clips of him. I do have a good 8 or 9 clips of him actually making plays because he made a lot of them. So didn't watch a lot of them this year. Let's see. Let's see if we got one more for him. Tyler Barron, tackle for loss. Again, this is against Pitt. Yeah, see, that's a nice job. Quick enough to get between the blockers, get the stop in the backfield. And that, let's see. Where are we at? Do I just suck it up with this damn headache? What do we do? And there's the damn dog again. Draft tracker. I just accidentally lost the draft. Do apologize. My dog is like, hey, let's play right now. Doesn't understand. That's not really a thing at the moment. There it is. Day 3. Watch now. I don't know why this is not letting me watch. It's actually shutting me out of the draft. Day 3. Watch now. It's telling me that it's bringing me to the watch now screen, and there is nothing there. I wonder, I mean, even if it goes to a different network for the final 2 rounds, I would imagine NFL.com would still have it. So that kind of makes my decision for me, folks. I wasn't sure if I was going to hang around, but I have lost access to this for whatever reason. And my dog's going crazy, which doesn't help matters at all. So I will wrap up now because I've got nothing to go on. And the Jets have no picks. And my dog is insane. So that'll wrap this one up, guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging around this long. At JNRadio_Glenn at Twitter. Be sure you're checking out the forums at JetNation, JetNation.com. Most active Jets message board on the web. There will be, as always, plenty of draft talk and discussion in the coming days and weeks until we get some camp rolling and get to watch these guys in action. And probably recap UDFAs in a day or two. Let some of these guys get signed and official, and we'll cover that. If I get this up and running again, and if the Jets trade into the 6th or 7th and make another pick, I will come on live again to discuss whatever pick they make. But as for now, I'm short-circuited out of the draft, and the Jets have no picks. So I'm going to bail. Have a good one. As I said, I'll follow it on Twitter. If there's another pick that comes in, I shall return. Have a good one, Jets fans.